Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our regular commission meeting this Tuesday, June 17th. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Commissioner Marker.
Here.
Vice Mayor Long.
Here.
Commissioner Cassell.
Here.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns.
Here.
Mayor Carney.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. You may be seated. Before we get started, we have some special guests in the room. We have Troop 508 of Scouts of America are here to watch us for their citizenship in the community merit badge. If you could all please stand up, be recognized. All you Troop 508 people.
308.
Now they're here to watch. They're here to get their merit badge for citizenship in the community, and I expect everybody in this room to be on their best behavior. I'm hoping we're going to be on our best behavior, but thank you all for that. And I remember you from the Memorial Day. Were you all did you all participate in Memorial Day? Yes. Yep, great. Thank you all for your service.
Mr. Mayor, it's Troop 308.
I thought it was 508. 308. Oh, I beg your pardon. Troop 308. Well, I can't read my own writing. So thank you all. Thank you very much. Bye. Okay, you can be seated. We now have agenda approval.
Could I pull 6N1 and 6F, please?
Hold on.
Thank you.
Six-
6F is a safer grant.
Well, that's fine. Yep,
Okay.
6F, and what's 6N1?
6N1 is the appealable item, Marina Way.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. And we have one agenda item which is going to be.
7C, we're asking to have that pulled.
Okay, 7C is going to be.
7C?
Yeah, it needs to, there's
the
a problem with the
plot.
notice, right? Is that right?
So
Okay.
Mayor, for the record, 6F will be 7AA.
Okay. thank you.
6F will be 7AA, 6N1 will be 7BB. And are there any other additions or subtractions or amendments? No. Seeing none, then I need an approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay, we have a proclamation. A proclamation. Who's going to be making this? Vice Mayor Long, you're going to be making this presentation?
I actually didn't print it out, so. The physical.
It's over here.
Document
but
is here.
The clerk has it.
Yeah, thank you.
So go ahead and read it.
Thank you, Mayor. This proclamation is for the late Nancy Stewart Franzak. Whereas Nancy Stewart Franzak was a contributor and community leader, and whereas Nancy Stewart Franzak founded Festival Management Group in 1998 with a bold vision to create vibrant, meaningful events that unite communities and uplift causes, and whereas through her unwavering leadership, tireless dedication, and remarkable generosity, Nancy helped raise critical funds for more than 60 nonprofit organizations supporting countless causes and changing thousands of lives. And whereas Nancy led not only with strategic brilliance, but with fierce loyalty, deep compassion, and unbreakable commitment to excellence that inspired all who had the privilege to work beside her. And whereas she cultivated the beloved FMG work family, to whom she was more than a leader, she was a mentor, advocate, and friend, instilling them with boundless passion and integrity. And whereas her passing leaves an immeasurable void in the hearts of her family, friends, colleagues, and the many communities she so selflessly served, and whereas we remain steadfast in our promise to honor Nancy's extraordinary legacy by continuing the work she loved with the same heart, spirit, and purpose she exemplified every day. And now, therefore, the City Commission of Delray Beach does hereby proclaim June 17th, 2025 as a day to honor the life, legacy, and memory of Nancy Stewart Franzak. Her enduring impact shall be celebrated and cherished always and will live on in every event we produce, every life we touch, and every act of service inspired by her example in our city. Let it be known that Nancy Stewart Franzak's spirit will continue to guide and inspire us today, tomorrow, and always.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone we're presenting it to, or is anyone here for her?
I'm not sure if her family. Is her family here?
In the rear. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Here, why don't you? You go ahead. Good, Mike. 4B is an update. This is City Attorney Lynn Jellin, the update on the regarding the PFS litigation settlement.
Thank you, Mayor. Our outside counsel, Mark Dearman, is approaching, and he's just going to give us a very brief summary as to where we are with the litigation. I did send the commission earlier this week, I believe, a summary of the settlement payments. It's all yours.
All
Hi,
right,
Mark.
Mr. Mayor, City, my name is Mark Dearman. I'm an attorney with Robbins, Geller, Rudman, and Dowd. I've had the privilege to represent the city since about 2017. The first opportunity was the national opioid epidemic litigation, which we're working on with Attorney Jellin's office, and then PFAS. PFAS is polyfluoroalkyl. We've all heard of it. We hear it referred to as forever chemicals. It's a significant problem in our country. Litigation back in about 2020 started to get filed until there was a point where there were thousands of lawsuits that were filed all over the country. Those lawsuits were consolidated in front of one judge, Judge Gergel, in Charleston. Like the opioid litigation was sent to Cleveland, Ohio, the PFAS litigation was sent to Charleston. We filed a case along with the law firm of Napoli Skolnick on behalf of the city in 2022. We named about 15 defendants. At that time, the litigation started moving forward, and full-blown litigation was going on. At the same time litigation was going on, there was a settlement track. The court created a track for cities and counties, which the city of Delray fell into, and as a result of ongoing litigation, several settlements have been made. Like I said, there are about 15 or 20 defendants, roughly. Settlements have been reached, and these are national numbers I'm going to give you now, with 3M for $12.5 billion, DuPont $1.185 billion, Tyco $750 million, BASF $312 million, Kitty Fenwell $540 million, Global Carrier $129 million. There are roughly 10 other defendants that we're still litigating with that we expect to either try cases against or reach settlements with. But I know what you want to hear about is Delray, and everybody wants to hear about Delray, so let me talk to you about Delray. The 3M settlement will result in approximately $15 million to the city. The first payment will be coming this week. The second payment will be coming in Q3. Those two payments will equate to 40% roughly of the total, and then the remaining funds will be paid over 5 years. DuPont, $1.1 million. That will be a lump sum payment that you will see this year. BASF, we know it's a $300 million settlement, but we don't know the allocation yet, so we don't know what the city of Delray is going to get. Tyco, $750 million. We don't know the allocation with that as well, but we expect that payment is going to happen this year. The couple of mentions that I'd be remiss if I didn't say. The city, really through Attorney Jellin's office, has been incredible to work with. They've been proactive, they've been responsive, and they have been involved. They've been so involved that the city of Delray was a settlement class representative in the 3M, the DuPont, the BASF, and the Tyco matter. And what that means is that they had a seat at the table. The city had a seat at the table. What it means is that although there were thousands of cities and counties that filed lawsuits, there were roughly only 10 who were selected as class settlement representatives. And a large part of that was due to Attorney Jellin's involvement and everything that she did. I would also be remiss if I didn't reference, and I'm not going to say his last name because I mess it up, but Hassan from your waterworks department.
Right, yeah, right back there.
He is a rock star. Yes. Okay, I'm talking about a rock star. Okay, we are right. He is a rock star. I mean, I'm dealing with other folks in that role in other places. I'm telling you, he's a rock star. The claims process was not easy. I know that Nicole, one of my partners, we've had a lot of involvement with Hassan, but he was on top of it, and it was as a result of the work that he did that we were able to get these claims made. That's really where the rubber hits the road, and so I just wanted to let you know that. So that's really what's going on with the PFAS litigation. I have some really new news in opioids, which if you have a minute or two, I'll tell you. If you don't, just to let you know. The opioid litigation has been going on since about 2017. And there have been several settlements. The city has received or will receive over the period of 8 years roughly $2 million from the settlements that have already been accomplished. There are 10 more settlements which have just been essentially announced. One of them is Purdue and the Sacklers. Everybody here is Purdue, and they know the Sacklers. That's about a $6.5 billion settlement.
Saw that,
We don't know how that's going to shake out as far as what Florida is going to get and what cities and counties are going to get, but we do know the state of Florida will participate. And in the next 60 days, we will have some numbers which we will share with Attorney Jelen so that you all can, we can have another conversation about what you want to do and whether you want to participate in that. In addition to Purdue and Sacklers, there's another 8 smaller defendant manufacturers who the state of Florida is also going to participate in those settlements. It's about another $1.2 billion, and there will be an allocation to the city, which we will have those numbers in the next 60 days, and we will share with you. And that is PFAS and national opioids.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you. Just really quick, unlike the opioid litigation, the PFAS litigation, it doesn't have the authorized uses for the money, correct?
That is correct.
So the city is able to allocate the funds that we receive in whatever manner it deems appropriate.
That is
that
correct.
fair?
That is correct.
Thank you.
All right.
Good to see you.
You
Could
too.
I
very
just
much.
say, Mayor, I want to say thank you very much. I sat up here, I believe it was August of 2022, and that's not really that long ago when you think about the amount of money that we're getting back. And Attorney Jelen, you really got us a seat at the table so fast. It was amazing. And Mr. Hajimari, he knows that I just think he's one of our most valued employee of so many. And I think Gina Carter was involved as well. Thank you, Gina. I don't see her here, but this is beyond exciting for our city, and I thank you so much.
It was my pleasure and privilege.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd just like to briefly echo that. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Lynn and Hassan, for making us look good. And I think we need to have a follow-up conversation about how we can potentially use some of these funds to offset the water hike that's coming, the water bill hike that's coming. So I hope we can get that on an agenda soon and do an analysis and figure out how we can do that. I'd like to use this money towards our new treatment facility, but specifically to offset some of those bills that may get in residents. So.
Thank you.
Well, since everybody's echoing, I'm going to echo as well. I was going to save it until the end for Commissioner comments, but however, I want to congratulate Ms. Jelen. Thank you for your expertise, and Hassan out there wherever you are, and I am too. And as I said in a previous meeting, we want to give our residents some relief, and so that money should come back to our residents in some form. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
We now have a presentation of the proposed stormwater non-ad valorem assessment rates. Missy and Cynthia, greetings.
I'm always so excited when it works. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Missy Barletto, Director of Public Works, and
Cynthia Buson, Assistant Director of Public Works. Good evening.
so I brought my backup singer with me tonight in case I goof on anything I say that doesn't sound right. If she says it differently, believe her. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about the stormwater utility assessment that comes on everyone's annual tax bill. The current stormwater rate that we have has been in effect since 2023. That was the first year that we changed the rate structure, how we charge stormwater utility assessments. And there were concerns from various people in the community about how we calculated shared spaces in condominiums, exemptions for religious organizations, and a variety of other things, which we have very recently corrected in our stormwater ordinance that you passed just a couple of months ago. So we're looking at increasing the stormwater rate on a annual basis to keep up with the kinds of things that we need to do to be able to provide this service for the community, which include things like increasing operations and maintenance expenses. Right now, because we skipped a year in increasing the stormwater rates. We have about a $2 million backlog in required repairs. Stormwater master plan that was adopted in 2019 identified extensive capital improvements that we need to address over what then was the next 30 years. At that time, in pre-COVID dollars, the estimate was about $363 million worth of improvements to stay ahead of rising water levels, and this helps to get us to that point. So I've already gone over quite a bit of this. The new rate structure that was adopted prior to 2023, stormwater utility assessments were based on a single residential unit, an equivalent ERU, an equivalent residential unit. We've moved that to a stormwater unit, which is based on the amount of impervious surface on a particular lot. In other words, however much a home or business contributes to the stormwater management system, they pay accordingly. So in 2023, when we first brought this up, this is just here to give you an idea of how costs have changed in a post-COVID world. In 2023, we anticipated $47 million over the next 5 years. Today, we're anticipating around $67 million over the next 3 years in capital improvement needs. Listed on this slide are some of the projects that are in the works right now. The Tropic Isle Neighborhood Improvement Program, several problem areas that were identified in the Stormwater Master Plan, all of those with a number are those. We are embarking on construction for the Thomas Street Pump Station. We're working on bringing all of the city's seawalls in the current year up to a level where they will not be overtopped during king tide events. And there are some other stormwater improvements that need to happen along George Bush Boulevard and Lakeview Drive, which is under construction now. So we skipped a year in increased stormwater utility assessment, which if we had stayed on tap last year, we would have raised the rate to $16.56. This year I would be asking to raise the rate to $20.04 for a stormwater utility rate. But because of the backlog in projects, we're asking to make a combination of those two at this time to get us up to the appropriate schedule. So if we had stayed on schedule, in this year we would have realized about $5 million worth of revenue from the stormwater utility assessment, and in next year we would be looking at $6,058,000. Combining all of these numbers together, we would need to come up with $7,003,000 in the coming year to be able to meet our upcoming obligations. So to bring it back down to an individual scale so that everyone can understand, in Tier 1 of the rate structure, that includes properties that have between 500 and 2,000 square feet of impervious surface. Their proposed annual rate fee would go up to $62.53. That is an increase of $26.24. but that is still about $9 less than what the fee was before we changed to this new rate structure. And the Tier 1 structures in our community comprise about 30% of all the people paying into the tax stream. The largest contributor to this fund are for those properties that are between 2,000 and 5,000 square feet of impervious surface, and their rate would go up to $148.22, which is an increase of $62.20. And then you can see here from 5,000 to 7,000 square feet is a very small percentage of the community. Their rate goes to $275.60, which is an increase of $115. And then for those properties that are between 7,000 and 10,000, which is less than 4% of the community, their rate will go to $372.88, which is an increase of $156.50. For parcels that are greater than 10,000 square feet, instead of assigning a tier in one stormwater unit, or however many stormwater units, we actually calculate the actual impervious surface on those properties and charge accordingly. So this is just a pie chart to show you that the residential Tier 1 in the blue on the bottom corner, approximately 30% of our population. The residential Tier 2, which is the orange, is another 49%. Together it's about 80% of the population would be in those first two tiers. And this is just a representation of how much of the overall utility assessment is paid per individual tier. So the residential Tier 1 is about $623,000. Tier 2, which is the, again, 50% of the population, is about $2.4 million. In blue, you'll see up at the top in blue the commercial, non-residential contributors are about $2.2 million, and the over 10,000 square feet bring in about $700,000. So that is the end of the presentation. We will be bringing you an opportunity in mid-July or early August to adopt the stormwater assessment fee. If you approve of this proposed change to the utility assessment, we will bring that back to you at that time for a formal vote.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Markert, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Burns, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Casal.
I do have one question. You've been amazing at getting the city funding for so much, millions and millions and millions of dollars. Is there anything that we are waiting for that could affect this? Are we waiting for any money that could help us reduce down this? We're hitting people in sanitation. We're hitting people in where our fees are going up across the board, and I understand the need, and I know we have to do it. I'm just trying to, are there things that could be happening that could help provide us a little relief in this area?
So one of the things that we showed there is that the stormwater utility only brings in about $7 million a year at this rate structure. That doesn't come close to paying for the projects that we have going. So we have currently we've got 3 projects that we're looking at going out for a revenue bond issue to help us cover the cost of. The $7 million that comes in for the utility assessments will help us to pay the debt service on that, as well as pay for our operations and maintenance crews to keep that in line.
Thank you.
So, but we do have going forward in the federal budget $5 million for the Tropic Isle Neighborhood improvements project, which is one of the 3 projects that we have that are ongoing right now, which would be Tropic Isle neighborhood improvements, historic Marine Way improvements
Right.
with the seawall and the roadway, and our first stormwater pumping station west of the Intracoastal.
Very
That's a
exciting.
biggie for us.
Yes.
And then also the Thomas Street stormwater pump station.
All right. Thank you so much, Missy. I appreciate the presentation.
Commissioner Long,
No questions. Thanks, Missy.
those last 2 projects are long overdue.
We've been working on getting those on the books for a very long time. We're very happy to be
Very happy
starting.
Very happy that it's now agenda to do. So,
Yes.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Comments and inquiries on agenda and non-agenda items from the public. First, the city manager's response to inquiries and highlights.
I yield at this time. Thank you.
Great. Okay, we're now at the portion of the meeting which is the public comment. Members of the public shall be allowed to come up and comment, wishing to speak on any topic or agenda item other than the quasi-judicial items and public hearing items. You'll each have an opportunity to speak on those items later in the meeting, as those items are called. For public comment, please sign in, state your name and address for the record, and you will each have 3 minutes. Mrs. Oda, were you working your way to the podium, or?
Hello. I couldn't let you get away with none. Marjorie Waldo from
They're
Arts
lining up on you. They
Garage.
just wanted somebody to go first.
I'm on the clock.
They wanted
Arts
somebody
and
to go
culture
first.
organizations are economic drivers. This includes tourism traffic, the arts drive restaurant, lodging, and retail sales, job creation. Creative jobs are often locally sourced and sustained. Public revenue, steady revenues help fund community services, community resilience, volunteer engagement, cultural vibrancy, and educational outreach. You're in budget season, so I got a lot of numbers for you. For the state of Florida, according to the Americans for the Arts and Florida's Division of Arts and Culture, the impact of arts and culture on the state of Florida's economy includes $5.8 billion, billion with a B, in total economic activity, which includes split down the middle, dollars from nonprofit arts and culture organizations and related audience spending. Over 91,000 jobs, full-time equivalent jobs, $3.8 billion in resident household income to help pay for all the new assessments, $694.7 million in government revenue, local, state, and federal. In Palm Beach County, performing arts are also a major economic engine. $335.3 million in total economic impact, $189 million from spending from arts organizations, $146.3 million from audience spending, over 4,000 jobs, $198.5 million in household income, and $57.2 million in tax revenues to city, state, and federal governments. In Delray Beach, Arts Garage and other performing arts organizations contribute over $3 million annually, hundreds of jobs, and we enhance the city's cultural vibrancy. Arts Garage. Out of the 29,000 visitors to Arts Garage, 52% report that they visit local restaurants before and after the shows. Multiply that by an average of anywhere from $40 to $100 per person, and you're talking about a significant amount of money, over $1 million. Even if you go with the lower number, it's close to $700,000. We hire 19 people, 8 full-timers with benefits and 12 part-timers. We pay more than 1,500 performers and instructors annually. We spend over $40,000 on local hotels, and we hire local businesses for accounting, insurance, pest control, handy people, photographers, piano tuners, printers, alcohol distributors, caterers, PR companies, radio and print advertisers, janitorial services and supplies, electrical and air conditioning contractors, and more. Arts Garage is an economic driver.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I am Sandra Owens.
I've stood before you about 3 months ago.
Address, please.
Oh, my eternal address or I'm a resident, 128 Northwest
Your
12th
eternal
Avenue.
address is not right down, but your regular address, yeah.
All right, so my issue right now is that Delray Memorial Gardens sold my plot. I've been working and been very amicable, I believe, in getting my plot back. They have buried someone there. They've asked for proof. I've given them proof that I purchased it in 2005. I told them that I purchased 3 plots in the city of Delray, in Delray Memorial Gardens. There's plot B for my dad, part C for my mother, and plot D for me. They have disrupted 2 lives. My thing is, I own that plot. They have someone in it. They owe that person an apology. All I've asked over these months is for Delray Memorial Gardens to correct their mistake. That's all I wanted. I want my plot back. And I'm entitled to that. I paid for it. I have proof of purchase. I am stressing over this. During testing, I've met with them several times. I even met with them one time, and it was suggested that they dig up my mother and my father and move them. I was not happy. So my thing, all I'm getting now is what the other family does not want. I can sympathize with them to a certain point. But at the end of the day, I own the plot. I want to be buried next on the right side of my parents. And that's all I'm asking the city of Delray to do, is to correct their mistakes. It's just that simple. So I am asking you for the return of a plot that I purchased in 2005. And I'm asking the mayor, because I voted for most of you sitting on this panel. And I'm a resident here. I taught here. I lived here. I was raised here. I respect my city. I like the city of Delray. And as my parents say, what is done in our house should stay in our house. And that's why I'm back before you again, is for Delray Memorial Gardens to return my plot. My wish is to be buried to the right of my mother and father in Delray Beach Memorial Gardens. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let the church say amen. Montre Bennett, 323 Northwest 2nd Avenue in the beautiful city of Delray Beach. Evening mayor and commission, and all residents. As we know it in this time and these days, this democracy that we once know is falling. And it's showing itself, one, with the millage rate decrease. As much as we don't want to act as if that has nothing to do with what's going on, it has every bit of lifetime and energy of what's going on in Delray Beach today. I just want to simply say, it's time. It's time we start implementing a strategy of rethinking and reimagining our communities. It is for us to solidify our stance as a nation, as people, on what the outcome will be of this North America in this world. We must come as one unit to overcome the division and separation among ourselves. Where do we go from here? Each person has and should have the moral right to extend his hand to help another man. This lady want her land back, give it to her. We got to learn to barter with our gifts. We got to get back together and lift each other up, support one another wholeheartedly, and let our energy transform this place. Cohesively connected like never before. It's a storm brewing, and we need to be ready. We need to be ready for whatever comes. Start stacking, start packing, hold on to whatever you can. If you are going to invest into anything, invest into something that will help you in this long haul. What if the power does go out? What if it is a food shortage? What if we no longer have access to anything? I just urge you to not panic, but start making good with your neighbors and communities and get in alignment with one another. We will have to do some heavy work. We need all hands on deck to make sure we are secure, not hungry, and able to sleep well. The most important part is to not panic. Be aware and know that anything can happen, and you just need to be prepared and ready. However, I do believe if we function together, the less strife we have to endure. Delray, do right by your citizens and stop just doing what you want to do because you feel it's the right thing to do. And if everybody's not in supportive of it, it shouldn't be done.
Thank you very much, Montre.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Commission. My name is Charles Kittle. I reside at 3590 Lakeview Drive, Delray Beach, Florida. My wife and I have resided in this residence since March 2015. Regarding the capital improvement project 21003 drainage improvement for Lakeview Drive, I'm here to bring you an update since all your names are on the sign that's posted at the end of my yard. During this time, we've only experienced one rain event in 2021 where the stormwater reached the sidewalk, and that was due to the debris collecting in the storm drain. So we're told that this project is necessary in order to meet the drainage needs for the community. Prior to the start of the project, I spoke with several of the Delray Beach Public Works team. They were assessing the project, reviewing with the excavator contract. Southeastern Engineering Contractors will know it as SEC going forward. I had concerns regarding how the excavation was going to be conducted and the type of equipment to be used. Voiced my concern during that should a heavy piece of equipment be used, and the size, the easement, which is 6 feet on both sides, so 12 feet in total. What type of study regarding soil compaction or any kind of layout would be done prior to the work being started. And this was done with the contractor and the city people. At the start of the project, I met with the engineers, Rob Hunt, Moises Cuesta, Rafael Diaz, Ariel Sosa of SEC. We walked the property and took several videos of the pictures to show the property prior to the start of construction. As the property project started, behind our home, where it abuts the golf course, the contractor started using their John Deere 245 excavator, which weighs in excess of 60,000 pounds. They were using the equipment to drive in steel plates and the trench box with the equipment, which then created shock waves throughout the community, impacting our home. We noticed that there was quite a bit of damage and vibration to the point to where it started knocking things off the walls of the house. At that time, I contacted both the SEC engineers, the city of Delray Beach, the oversight, which is Baxter Woodson. They came in and they took a look at the issues and the damage that was being created. And we noticed that our pool, which had been filled prior to the start of the day's construction, now had a crack in it and lost 3 inches of water. The pool is 29,000 gallons. It's a significant crack in the pool. Pool was redone in 2022, folks. Okay? The excavator then was used to go between the two properties, which there's a 12-foot easement. The equipment's 11 feet wide. The contractor, when they started doing the excavation work between the houses, intended to fly the material over the top. I'll send this all to you all in an email.
Thank you very much.
You got to look at this contractor. No more. They've done something before.
Thank you, sir.
Be confident. Thank you.
Thank you for your service. My name is John Shaw with JS Landscaping and Tractor Service. Delray Tree Service hired me to bush hog a water retention area on the Delray Beach Golf Course.
Excuse me, sir. Can you give your address, please?
My address? Yeah, I'd like to be paid for the work that I did. Delray Tree Service contracted me to do this work. I've since been back out to the golf course. They're happy. They gave me every number to try to track this guy down. I Googled him. My wife Googled him. He goes by like 6 different names. And it's hard to track down. He won't answer any of my calls. I got my friend to call him. And when actually my friend was standing there, he called from his phone, and I said, "Hey, what's going on? This is the bush hog guy." And he goes, "Oh, it's my birthday. I'm going to eat right now. I'll call you later." He ain't returned any of my calls. So I just want to let you know who you got working for you out there. Delray Tree Service. The guy goes by Kerry Porter. That's one of the names, anyway. So I'd like to be paid for my work. You know, I went out there and the guy said, I did a good job. He goes, "Yeah, you did more than anybody's ever done." You know, so, and I've been in business for 35 plus years, and I don't, how can you go around and not pay people, you know? So I would just like to be paid. I'm just trying to figure out how to get paid for the work that I did. Thank you.
Could we want to provide your address for the record, though?
What's that?
You want to provide your address for the record?
Yeah, I'm JS Landscaping Tractor Service, 5559 3rd Road, Lake Worth, Florida,
Great.
33467.
That's fine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Yvonne Odom, 3905 Lawson Boulevard. I've been watching online. I have 3 little points I want to make.
Excuse me, are you the grandmother of the French Open champion?
I'm one of them, yes. Well, stop my time.
Oh, well, I'll give you extra. If I steal your time, Mrs. Odom, I'll give it back.
Stop my time. Anyway, I listened to the education piece, and I want to address the elephant in the room. In 1968, when I started teaching right out of college at Old Delray Elementary, and when this white parent found out that I was black, I'm obvious, she had her child taken out of my class. And we have not addressed that after all these years. We talk about our schools. I worked at Carver, Pine Grove, and I always got a disparaging remark when I told them I worked at Carver. And I think Commissioner Burns, I don't want to call you out, could have the same feeling, because it's a racial issue that we need to address. Yes, if you have a Willie Mays on your team, that's not going to take as much work. But if you got Joe Blow, who need 100 ground balls, maybe 200 ground balls, that's what we need to address. The kids come to school already behind. They stay behind. And then we throw in the color issue when people don't know a thing about the school other than the fact it is a majority black school. And I got it my entire career. I taught 45 years here in Delray. So let's address the elephant in the room. The other one is American Legion. I thank you. But what I'm asking, that when we do the signage, that we include post 188 with the C, so that when our grandchildren and great-grandchildren want to know what that C meant, that we'll be able to tell them. And then the other thing, which you know I'm passionate about my police, let's get this done. We can apologize all we want. It reminds me of an abusive relationship where you beat the stew out of somebody and then the next day you send them flowers. So let's do right by our police department. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Odom.
Lucica Suarez, 115 Southwest 11th Avenue. I was also watching online. The education department actually tried to rush over here, but somebody else had other plans. But I also want to give a couple of things to consider when we're talking about funding schools. We can talk to it blue in the face and go over all the history, but at the end of the day, it does come down to funding. So I just wanted you guys to consider a couple of ideas that I had in order to fund some of the schools. I did send over a couple documents to some other folks that work under work with the city, but just consider maybe, since we know that the main base to fund the city comes from property taxes, rather than take it from property taxes, maybe let's consider the a part of the square footage that we charge on Atlantic Avenue, which is approximately about $90 a square foot, and we receive commercial taxes from that. Maybe we can divert like a 0.5% towards school and to fund certain grants, because grants is how the city of Boca and Wellington and some of these other wealthy, affluent cities actually fund and support their schools, is through grants. So maybe we can consider taking some of that tax money, or maybe putting something on the ballot to increase by 5 cents or so, to add an additional tax to fund our schools. Because at the end of the day, like, if we're trying to compete with countries like China and Japan, where their children actually are in school for 2 and 3 years even before they enter the public schools, if we're truly trying to compete, then we actually need to put our money where our mouth is and actually invest in our future. So just some things to consider. Maybe instead of taking from the main tax base, we create other ways to fund some of these initiatives that we're wanting to see in our schools. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, excuse me, Miss Mayor, could you email that to us as well? If you hop online, you can see the City Commission website, and there's one link to get your paperwork to all of us as well.
Sure,
Thank you.
not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Dr. Wright. I live at 815 Northwest 2nd Street. And the reason I'm here, I have a lot of reasons, but the main reason I'm here, and I hope I'm not speaking out of order, I live right across from the American Legion Hall that you all changed to one time to the Karen Kitchen. And thank you so much that it has made a big difference as far as safety is concerned, cleanliness, etc. But it's my understanding that tonight you're going to be talking about that issue, and I think I'm out of order, but I want to say this.
Mayor,
I'm out of
I'm
order.
sorry. No, it's a public hearing, so
Oh,
the
you're speaking
comments should
on
be-
a matter for the public
Oh, I
hearing.
am. I'm out of order.
Yes, you are. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know what item you were speaking on, so thank you,
But I
though.
can come up later and
Oh,
say
yes,
something.
when the item is called. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Coco's other grandma.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Huh?
That is
Oh,
Coco's
the other grandmother. I'm sorry. I have to acknowledge both grandmothers.
And so since it's been said that that's Coco's other grandmother, it's 8A or 8B when we come up. Is that it?
If you're speaking on that public item, yes.
Got it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Paul Cannon. I'm on the Police Advisory Board. I live at 1021 East Heritage Club. I'd like to just make a couple of comments given recent information that was put out about the Police Benevolent Association dealings with the city. I'd like to perhaps explain, if I may, exactly what the DROP is and what it represents. The DROP stands for the Deferred Retirement Option Program. It's currently available for 5 years to any officer who wishes to retire but remain working. While in the DROP, the officer will receive their regular salary, and any pension payout that they would have received when they retired is instead paid into a separate account that they cannot access. And after 5 years, they retire, they can collect their accumulated funds. This is not money paid by the city, so there is no double dipping. I would also add that the PBA proposes to extend the drop to 8 years. That simply and makes other concessions in its structure, which aligns with the drop program for the Fire and Rescue Department and many other neighboring police departments. Boynton Beach, for example, has an 8-year drop. Boca Raton has a 7-year drop. As I mentioned, Delray Fire and Rescue has 8. PBSO, incidentally, also has 8. And a recent actuarial study shows that this can be achieved and realize a saving for the city of about $750,000 in the first 3 years. Restructuring the Chapter 185 revenue also helps offset this cost. So over 30 years, the saving could be over $6 million. The current pension plan, by the way, is 78% funded, and approximately $300,000 would be saved in the first year. I'd like also now to turn my attention quickly to the salary proposal. The city did put out a very generous salary proposal to the PBA, but it needs to be structured differently so that we offer competitive salaries to our more experienced officers so we don't lose them to other agencies. I realize I'm running low on time, so one final thought I would like to share with you, and that is, if there could be a special assessment for stormwater mitigation, why can't there be a special assessment for our public safety agencies? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? One, okay.
I gotta speak. Steve Blum, 115C Venetian Drive, Delray Beach, for 30 years. Gentleman knows a lot about speaking, but I don't think anybody here understood a word he said. And I want to just simplify the whole diversity of this pension fund and this police fund and agreement that should be done immediately. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to realize. Take away all the drop program, the health insurance, the pay, the this, the that, makes no difference. If officers are leaving, they're not leaving for lower pay and lower property. They're leaving because of a better life. And if that continues, no matter what you say about crime and stuff like that, it's going to go up. So we have to get this project done immediately. Officers are leaving. Why are they leaving? Have you asked the question? Why are the officers leaving? They're all right, fine. If they're leaving for money, then you have to give them more money. You have to be competitive. That's all there is to it. You have to be competitive. And if you're not, the proof is in the pudding. They're leaving for a reason. That's all there is to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Pastor Stewart. I live at 625 Southwest 4th Street in Delray Beach. And I'd like to stand tonight to say to my fellow finest Delray Beach officers that helped me raise my grandson. And I would like to say tonight to Delray Beach, my grandson was brought up going through a lot of situations in the home where the father walked away. But I want you to know that there was officers took the time out on Saturdays, and they came and they helped me with my grandson. And just this Saturday, my grandson
Ma'am, please
just
address your comment
released-
to the commission. It's not a...
Just this Saturday, my grandson released his first jazz album, 16 years old. And I want to thank those that didn't give up on him. I want to thank them that wrapped their arms around him and reminded him that no matter what you're going through, you still got a friend that's willing to stand and help you. So I say to all of Delray Beach, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you're doing to help our children in the community.
Congratulations on your grandson. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none? Okay. I didn't know if the pools were working or... Good, thank you. Public comment is closed. Okay, we have the consent agenda. We have two items that have been removed from the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, okay. We are now going to former 6, what is it, 6?
N?
6,
No.
we'll go
No.
6F, which is now 7AA.
Yeah.
So, who is going to be?
I pulled that. That was the safer grant. Here's what I was thinking, and is the chief not here? I I apologize.
Assistant Fire Rescue Chief
I-
Travis Franco is here on behalf of the Fire Rescue
Mr. Franco,
Department.
I'm so sorry. When we spoke last time,
He's coming.
And
There he
Chief
is.
Martin is here as well.
sorry, Chief Martin, I apologize, and I should have flagged you ahead of time. When we spoke last time, we talked about the fact that this process was pretty involved to get the application in.
Yes, ma'am.
And also that our chances are very slim of getting this SAFER grant. And while I would really embrace the grant right now because we need it, I spent the weekend going through those 150 recent executive orders. And one of the things that very much concerns me is that we don't know what the ramifications of not following all the executive orders are, but we understand that in applying and accepting the grant, we are going to have to abide by some of them. And some of them are fine. It would be no problem. But others, are not consistent with Delray Beach. Even things like plastic straws. We could not probably have our straw ban anymore, even though it's somewhat unofficial. But there are a lot of things, 150 recent executive orders, going through them. I think that we, in light of the fact that A, it's going to take a lot of time and money, B, we're not even likely to get it, and C, when we get it and come back together, if everybody looks at these orders, they may say this is not something we can agree to. I don't know if we want to continue on.
My only question, if I may, is I want to kind of understand the obligations we're taking on. I think I love the idea of the grant.
We are obligated to the number of employees
I
consistently
understand
for
that,
here
but
on
if
out
the
that
federal
we.
government changes it's what it's going to do, are we still obligated to maintain all those people?
Yes,
even if the
we are
money,
100%
even if they say we're
obligated.
no longer going to fund the grant?
We two answers to that question. So the first part is if we apply for the grant and we receive the grant, then the expectation is for the 3-year grant funding period,
Right.
we are expected to keep those the employees on staff. After the 3-year grant period expires, to enhance our chances, FEMA and the federal government will like to see and elevate our application to some type of sustainability statement in that grant because they don't want to fund these positions and then after 3 years see them eliminated.
But I guess my question is, if in year 3, the federal government decides, and because they're deciding on a lot of different things that they're no longer going to fund, which surprised me, that they don't want to fund this anymore for whatever reason. Are we still obligated then to retain everybody, or does that allow us? Clearly, if we don't get it, we don't get the money. But if they decide not to give us the money, are we still obligated to keep the people on?
You know, Mayor.
I think we are because we had this encounter last time.
I believe we would be.
We are.
But I will defer to our legal expert.
I don't know.
You have now reached the limit, admittedly, of my grant
If I may, Mayor,
expertise.
because I went through this process previously, and that was one of the reasons I didn't vote for it, because at the time, our staff encompassed 22 and a half gentlemen and ladies from Highland Beach, and if we had a problem with that contract, which we were facing, then we would have been required to retain 22 and a half additional employees that we didn't really need. I guarantee you that is part of the agreement if it is consistent with the same grant that we applied for last time. And I also remind you that you don't want to hire on 10 people and then what are you doing at the end of 3 years? You let them go. We all know, and it's no offense to the union contracts, it's not that easy to let people go. Yeah, you can defund the position, but that creates its own problem. We have to be very thoughtful about this. We do need this money, but we're making a commitment when we approve this grant, and I just want to say, we need to know every single detail of that. Now, maybe we say, hey, we're going to go along with the process, but
I guess my thing is I like keeping options, and we're talking about applying for the grant. If we get the grant, we still have the opportunity to not accept it, correct?
Right.
We can do all that analysis then.
So
Isn't
that what we decided
it's
last
important
time?
analysis. I mean, that's not what you're saying, and we all
It's
say,
what we decided
we understand.
last
We don't know
time.
what the costs are going to be,
Right.
but I know if we don't apply, you don't buy a lottery ticket, you don't win. So I have supported at least making the application without giving any assurance that if we get it, I'm going to necessarily say, well, that's something we should do. But unless we apply, we won't even have that opportunity to
no,
review.
and it'll come back in front of us. But in light of the fact
That's
that
my
they
only
said
point.
it would be a
But
lot
we're
of time and
deadline here.
energy to
We
do
only
it.
like about 10 more days or something to
The
apply.
deadline is July
Not
3rd,
even,
so
I
we
think.
are on
Yeah.
target to get this submitted in time.
We referenced a lot of these concerns last time, and they are real concerns. But I think what we all sort of arrived at, the conclusion we agreed on, is that it made more sense to apply for it.
Right.
And then on the off chance we get it, we can weigh the pros and cons, right?
agree.
Because there are issues, but does the money we're getting out of it outweigh that? So it's not going to be perfect. So I think we need to move forward with it. We're probably not, it's probably going to be a moot point, right?
I agree. That's why
it's a
I
Hail
was
Mary anyway.
wondering if we
But
should
I have
waste
every
our time.
confidence that the chief, if he does it, we're going to get it. So know that.
Lynn,
If I may
actually
say
will-
one thing.
I actually do. Well, and you too, Deputy Chief.
Deputy Chief Travis Franco, Delray Fire. I just want to make sure that we understand timelines.
Yeah.
So yes, the application needs to be in July 3rd. Then there's a application review process that takes 2 to 4 months.
Okay.
After that, then they go through, after the review process, the award process, which takes 4 to 6 months. And then once you get the award in 4 to 6 months, they do a 180-day recruitment window where you can recruit to hire on, etc. You can file an amendment request to waive that 180-day recruitment window if you have the people ready to hire on that day.
Okay.
All of those timelines will put us past our contractual obligated date as to when we need to be onboarded. Because if it's going to take 4 to 6
that's a
months
problem then.
to get there, so I want to make sure that everybody is
No, wait a
fully
second. So
understanding
you're
of
saying
this.
the gentlemen and ladies or ladies that we hire on to get to the 24/7 are already going to be onboarded, so anyone we accept after that, it will be excess of what we need?
It will be. We'd
That's
have
a
to. We'd have to
problem.
work with the IFF.
We have to hire the people to meet our contractual deadline and maintain our level of service. We have to have those people hired August 25th. There won't be any excess of personnel incurred. The people we need for our staffing model need to be in place for us to meet our October 1 contractual deadline. The grant, if you elect, if we apply, if we receive it, there's still that funding period. So the money's, it's not like we get approved,
Right.
you accept it, and we get the money. There
No.
will be a period of time that will lag where we will have to pay from our funds until we get that grant period.
But I guess I'd say, do we have to actually hire the people before we make the application?
Yes, we have to hire. We're currently recruiting, and we have to have
That's a
butts and
problem there.
seats. October 1.
So before we get the grant, before we even are awarded, we will have had to hire everybody in order to compete with the.
Yes.
Wait, I think what he's asking is, are you saying we'd have to hire them for the grant application?
No,
or
no,
for
no.
us to get our 2472?
Get to our
Right.
2472.
Well, that's a
with
different
our
matter.
staffing
No,
model,
it
yes.
is. It's not a different matter though. So the question then becomes: are the hirees that you hire prior to the grant, if they approve you, Mr. Franco? We've already hired. We need 10 people. You said additional to get to the 2472. We onboard the 10. Then we're looking to get the grant. So anyone, those 10 will not necessarily qualify for the grant?
No, the people we are hiring now, if we're applying for the grant, will be the positions.
Okay, that's what the mayor just asked.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what
thank
that's
you.
what I was trying to.
But there will be a lag time in the funding for the positions.
There's
And
And the
always
lag
a
time
lag
can
time
be
in the
managed
funding.
based on the
Yes.
outcome of achieving the grant. So that's an administrative process we would simply facilitate to align accordingly. So that would be good if that was to be achieved. And quite frankly, while the office of the city manager and that of the fire rescue chief were contemplating this consideration, that was part of the analysis I was hoping to ascertain, and thus it is appropriate and productive to take a stab at it, given that alleviation of concern, because I question it the same.
Thank you, Mr. Franco. And Mr.
If they're slow pay, that's fine, as long as they pay. I mean, so.
It's always a lag anyway.
There's always a lag with the government. So anyway, we have
Okay,
pulled this,
motion to approve,
making the application.
excuse me, I have to go back to the number. Excuse me.
We got a
6
thing in a second.
7AA.
7AA.
7AA. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
7BB, which is,
Oh, that's me too.
this is, you're pulling something.
It was 6 and 1, it's the appealables.
So are you appealing the?
Yes.
Okay.
Historic Preservation Board 6-4 vote for 46 Marina Way. I don't know if you all have been following this project. It's a house in the historic district, Marina Way. The document affixed to the agenda is 103 pages, and if you read it, it's concerning. The house is small. The property was purchased by an individual who wants to develop it, but he's looking to build a property that's 3 times the size of what's currently there. And I would say to you very honestly, if you read this very thoroughly, this project is not consistent with our land development regulations. It doesn't meet our LDRs. It doesn't comply with our historic element of our comp plan or the Secretary of Interior's standards. Our historic element says we implement appropriate and compatible design and planning strategies for historic sites and properties within the historic districts. And if you look at this project, there's 10 standards in the interior's design standards for consideration. I think 6 apply to this particular project. But one of the biggest problems is the massing. The size of this property, the addition will be 3 times the size of the original home. That is not consistent with what we permit. There are other concerns about the vertical relocation. The house has to be elevated due to FEMA requirements. So this house is going to be raised up 14 feet, and it's adding an additional floor on top. So you're taking a house that's sitting next to a 2-story and another little house, all these little houses, you're raising it 14 feet, and then you're making it 3 stories. If you look at the images that show what you're looking at, it looks like a 4 to 5 story home. It's not what we typically permit. There are so many other waivers that aren't as bothersome, but frankly, staff was really very clear and concise in this report about the issues, and I'm concerned. The vote was a 4-3 on the Historic Preservation Board. I'm going to say something that's probably not going to be very popular, but the 3 no votes were all the professionals sitting on the board. And to me, we need to look at this. It's our duty and it's our obligation. Our comp plan in 2018, for the first time, included a historic element, and that was done because we as a community felt that that was extremely important. And I think it's our duty when a project like this comes in front of us to look at it. And I would also warn you that this is one of only 5 districts, and if we don't protect this district, it's gone. There are projects coming behind this that are also watching this project to see if this gets approved, because if it does, we're going to see 2 more. They're just waiting. So do we ask for a de novo review up here? Do we send it back?
What is right? It's just, can any one commissioner, or does the commission have to agree to take it under appeal, or can one commissioner, as I recall, one could,
You do have to take a vote, typically as a matter of courtesy. If somebody wants to appeal something, the other commissioners.
So what it means is they're going to come in front of the city commission.
For a de novo hearing,
And essentially do a de novo hearing, just like they get the
Fresh
HPV.
Start fresh with us.
Okay.
And so let's be careful with the comments that we make, because it is quasi-judicial, and you do have to give the
I will
appearance of
stop
impartiality
commenting.
and no bias.
I beg your pardon?
It's a quasi-judicial proceeding, so.
When we do, but not now. Not
Correct, but so we have to be mindful of the comments. So Commissioner Casals making a request to appeal. The one thing I do want to say is there is another item on here, that the SPRAB Atlantic Crossing MSP.
Yes.
So we have to address that.
I'm
because
okay with that
The entire
one.
thing was pulled, so.
Do you want me to vote?
We'll address the Marine Way
Okay.
matter
Okay.
first, if there's a motion to appeal. And then,
You're talking about 6M1. Yeah, I have made a special note.
Right.
Yeah, I got that.
but we can address the Marine Way item now.
Commissioner Long, are you okay with bringing this up for de novo?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes?
Thank
Okay.
you all.
Why don't we do a motion to appeal the HPB 46
Do
Marine
you want to
Way?
make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And then, so motion to accept the SPRAB determination on Atlantic Crossing MSP.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate
Okay.
that.
Majority. All right. We now go to the regular agenda. I knew we'd get there. 7A, resolution of the City Commission. Here we go. Resolution 107-25. Would you like to read the resolution, please?
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, approving a request to utilize the masonry modern architectural style for the property located at 202 Northeast 6th Avenue, as more particularly described herein, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
Your favorite subject.
Mayor, this is quasi judicial.
It's quasi-judicial. Okay. Let me read the quasi-judicial rules to everyone so we understand them. This item and the second item, right? Are they both?
7A and 7B.
7A and 7B. So first, if anyone is here to speak on 7A and 7B, if you could please stand, rise, and be sworn by the clerk.
By the authority vested in me as a notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you very much. Okay, this hearing is going to be conducted with the quasi-judicial rules. The applicant and the city shall be allowed 15 minutes each to present their case. Public shall be allowed to speak for 3 minutes each, or a maximum of 6 minutes if a person represents an organization or group of people who are present but agree not to speak. The city commission and staff and the applicant may be allowed to cross-examine a witness. The city or the applicant will be allowed to offer rebuttal testimony. The decision to approve or deny an application or appeal may not be legally made upon personal views as to whether a project is a good project or not, nor may a decision be based on the numbers of citizens who support or oppose a particular project. The law requires that all decisions must be made on the basis of whether the project meets the requirements of law, the comprehensive plan, and the land development regulations. Would you please enter the project into the record?
Sure. Anthea Geniotis, Development Services Director for the record, and I'd like to enter file 2024-228 into the record.
Great. Are there any ex parte communications on this file?
They're the same as last time, but when I looked at the photo, I said, this doesn't, it's changed. But yes, I spoke to the representative, I spoke to staff, and whatever may be on the server.
Is this the same one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We asked them to change it.
Yes, and whatever is on the server.
Yes, whatever's on the server, and I spoke with the council and staff.
It's not the same one?
Just for the record, this is not the same.
No, it's across the street. It goes up the street.
Forgive me.
Oh, no, it's a different one.
Okay, well, I
She just has
thought
so
when we
many
sent
clients,
them
she
away
forgets.
to change it, and it came back, and I was looking at it because it's.
No, this one's to go with the
Thank
cigar.
you.
It's right across from Granger's. At the
We
cigar.
spoke briefly on this one as
okay,
well.
so I haven't spoken to anyone on this, whatever's on the server.
Okay, whatever's on the server. But I did speak with council.
Same.
Mr. Law?
No, I don't think I've spoken about this one, actually, either.
Okay, it's where the cigar thing is right across from Granger's. Great. Okay, no ex parte communication?
No.
Presentation of case.
All right. For the record, my name is Christina Belenke. My address is 14 Southeast 4th Street in Boca Raton, and it's a pleasure to be here before you this evening. This project we're calling The Link, and we are here tonight for consideration of use of the masonry modern architectural design. So the property is located at 202 Northeast 6th Avenue. So it is highlighted in the red box on your screen. It's located on the north side of Northeast 2nd Street and on the west side of Northeast 6th Avenue, so your federal highway pair going northbound. So we did have a similar project across the street over here, which I think is what's coming to mind. So that property was approved for 8 townhomes. Today we're talking about the cigar bar, which is located again in the red box. 7 in the end, correct? Correct. Today we're here for 10 multifamily units, again specifically for the architectural design and the use of the masonry modern standard. This is a property that's in the commercial core and in the CBD. It is about 0.6 acres in size. And to put things into context, oops, went too far. Here we go. There are existing townhomes along 6th Avenue, both on the west side and the east side. Again, across the street, that's been approved for 4-story townhomes. You have 4-story apartment buildings located to the southwest, and you have the 5-story Hampton Inn located just to the west as well. Now, to talk about the specifics related to the masonry modern style, I'm going to bring up our architect who has much more expertise in that than I do.
So they say. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Peggy Fitzgerald. I work for Netta Architects. So I'm going to walk through the masonry modern style. I figure we'll just start there this time. So the Link is a boutique multifamily development in CBD which aims to increase resident density, activate the street frontage of a prominent corner, and cultivate pedestrian activity. The Masonry Modern style is one of the 7 approved styles in the Delray Beach Architectural Guidelines, and our interpretation of this style expresses an evolution of architecture in Delray Beach's CBD. Collaborating with planning staff to bring this design in line with the guidelines of Masonry Modern resulted in a quality execution of the style with elegant geometry and fenestration and elements to promote outdoor living and connectivity to the neighborhood. It respects the existing neighborhood context in scale and architectural expression, but has its own unique identity. So the first slide is an example of a Masonry Modern style building in Miami from the architectural guidelines. So from the design guidelines, this is the list of the characteristics of the Masonry Modern style. So the upper part of the building typically has roof terraces with parapet walls that extend to enclose accessible roof areas. The window proportions are typically vertical. The composition of the building reflects its solidity and structure with simple geometries and has spaces carved for entries and terraces. It most likely will have a smooth stucco finish with railings that are typically metal or wood. Usually there are eyebrows, terraces, and arcades, and deep overhangs to provide shade. The entrance to the building is clearly identifiable, and like all the styles in Delray, it has an articulated base, middle, and top in the tripartite composition. So this is a couple examples from staff's report of Masonry Modern buildings in Delray. And so here you can see that these buildings have rooftop terraces with handrails, the vertically oriented windows. You can see the solidity of the masonry structure. They have smooth stucco and each have eyebrows, overhangs, and balconies. So the style of the link utilizes the characteristics of the Masonry Modern style. You can see we have flat roofs are utilized to create terraces with the parapet walls that create an outdoor space with additional amenities for the residents. The composition reflects the solidity of the structure. The window types are fixed and are typically vertical, and they're also recessed somewhat to reveal the wall thickness and to produce shadows. The recessed terraces and eyebrows provide shaded outdoor spaces for residents to have comfortable outdoor living spaces and also connect with the surrounding neighborhood. The entrance is clearly identifiable with the large overhang at the intersection of 6th Avenue and 2nd Street. And it is balanced with transparent lobbies on both sides of the entry. This is another view of the building from 2nd Street and the alley. You can see how these elements are also exhibited on all three facing facades with balconies, terraces, overhangs, and eyebrows. And we believe that this elegant interpretation of the Masonry Modern style will be a positive addition to the CBD, and ask for your approval for the use of this style for this project. Let me go back. Over there. Any questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
To the city.
So, unlike, I think the considerations that we've had recently where you've considered just a whole different style that departs, this is a style that is one of the 7 that is in the architecture design guidelines. I think we've heard the cry of the proliferation, that it's becoming the most predominant style and therefore changing the character of the city, which is something we need to look into, maybe not on one, applications back, but on a greater sort of effort. So we're going to tackle that. So this is not final approval of the design. In the past, there have been other approvals, whether it was for Masonry and Modern or Art Deco, where there were suggestions about ways to enrich the design, and that there was a successful outcome at Planning Board last night with exactly that type of direction, similar to what we're seeing today. To give you a feel for what is around this building and what it is facing and what it is next to determine whether or not the style is appropriate, this is sort of what's surrounding the site. I also, I do want to point out that this northern facade, which is typically an interior side, and the expectation is there will be infill, does have a parking lot right now, and so the side elevation may end up being visible in the city for a while, and there's a little bit in the report that touches on that. So it is a 4-story, 10-unit residential. Again, you will see it either as an appealable or for action, depending on the final outcome in the end. You just have to make a determination whether the style, given its context and execution, is appropriate for this project. Again, I think the applicant has given you a good overview of what Masonry Modern is looking for. These are the other character examples that are inside the guidebook. I do think it's interesting that the design does propose to utilize like a darker color on the inside of the arcades. We haven't seen people do that before, and I think it's rather effective in what they're doing. So here are some examples, and this is the project before you now. So you've got the background. There's in the staff report there are different suggestions on how to enrich the design. But I think all of those are things that can be accomplished if the determination is the style is appropriate as they move through the TAC process and finish. We're always trying to bring these to you earlier enough so that they could make a change if it's determined not to be appropriate based on the neighboring architecture and things like that. So this is still moving through. There are, suggestions that it is a plain version of it. I don't know that for a residential building that's a problem, but just ways to sort of add another layer of detail on it as it moves through in the report that I think would be worthy of considering before it comes into its sort of final version. But ultimately, the proposed design, and I think it's important to look at those surrounding properties, what it's across the street from, other things. It does have the defining characteristics with the simplicity, very rational. It's got a restrained palette. Again, the north facade is an interior elevation. It's not something that we would normally focus on because ultimately a neighboring building is going to come up on the property line. It's going to block it. But this does, in this particular case, it's a little bit more pronounced. And there's, other slight ways to elevate the design that are suggested in the staff report that I hope that the architect would consider. But ultimately, outside of that, there's, nothing more that I can add right now. So these are the determinations you have to make, that it's appropriate for the place and that it's a well-executed example.
Great. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. If there are any members of the public wishing to discuss this agenda item, you can now come up to the lectern, give your name and address for the record, and you will each have 3 minutes. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there any cross-examination between staff and the applicant or the applicant and staff?
Not from our end, thank you.
Okay. Then to the commission for discussion.
It's so funny because we had that 109 Southeast 5th come up and it was stunning, beautiful. And then we said, well, we need you to go back and make it look a little bit like more Masonry Modern. And now we have Masonry Modern. And I'm thinking, I wish it looked like the other project because we're saying it maybe needs more detail or something. When you say we could move this forward and if we're in agreement with this, and I am, then the staff could encourage enhancements. What type of enhancements are you talking about?
So the backup is talking about how it is a rather flat facade and some of the ways where, maybe there's adjustments that can be made to add that it's got a rather static roof line. There's things like that. the corner again. There's always an opportunity on some of these things that, there's a main pedestrian entry on 6th, but it's only modestly demarcated. It's just things like that that I know that we've been working with NETA for a long time, and if there is the need for another layer of detail or changes, she's seen the backup, so if you disagree with any of it, now would be the time to sort of say that. But, we're confident that the design can move forward under this and maybe have another level of enrichment go across it before it's finalized.
Commissioner Burns?
Yeah, no, I would just move to approve it.
Well, I don't really have any questions. It's one of our approved styles, and I'll leave the details left up to the staff and the client. I'm sure you guys can work that out. I'm good.
Commissioner Marker?
Yeah, I'm in favor of this, and I think if you guys would be willing to work with Anthea and, look at a couple of recommendations, I think this is a good deal for the city.
I hesitate to ask. Commissioner Long?
I'll leave out my speech about the redundant process.
I got it on tape here. I can just play it from the
you
last meeting.
guys have heard me say it enough. No, I have no issue with this. I think it's fine. Thank you.
In your backup material, which I read thoroughly, it does talk about how you will be working with, that there are some suggestions, which seem like some pretty good suggestions from staff on how to, I don't want to say jazz it up a bit, but to jazz it up a bit, so it doesn't look as...
We're happy to work with staff.
Yeah,
on
I mean,
any
I
tweaks to
saw
the
that
design.
because, what do they call it? For a certain refinement in select areas to enhance the clarity, cohesion, and contextual responsiveness of the design.
Yeah.
I know you probably know what that means. You're an
Yeah.
architect. I have no clue what it means, but I have no problem with it. So, is there a motion to approve?
So motion to approve resolution number 107-25. Do you want us to say it inclusive of staff's recommendations?
think it's
Just
fine.
leave it at that. Okay, thank you.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Marker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Cassell,
Yes.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns,
Yes.
Mayor Carney.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Contextual responsiveness of the design. What the hell?
You gotta say that again.
I don't know. I mean,
Those were not your words.
but of course they were. No, I read them. Are you kidding? I couldn't. I mean, I know how to read.
You gotta read this.
I mean, I didn't graduate high school. So.
Want me to read the next one, Mayor?
Yes, please.
No, let Carney read it. He knows how to read.
Yeah,
You gotta read it again.
7B. So go ahead and
Resolution number 109-25, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, granting an in lieu of parking fee request for the project located at 25 and 27 Southeast 3rd Avenue and an unaddressed parcel on Southeast 4th Avenue, as more particularly described herein. Authorizing the city manager to take any all actions necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
thank you. Is there any ex parte communication on this matter?
I did meet with the applicant. And whatever might be on the server, pardon me.
Yeah, I don't think. Did you?
Whatever's on the server. No,
Yeah, whatever on the
I
server. I don't think we had any individual meeting. Mr. Long?
I don't think I did either. So also whatever's on the
It
server.
was a while ago.
Okay, and I'm confirming that you have been sworn and all that, right?
Yes,
Very-
ma'am.
Very good. Then if you're ready, you can present your case.
May
Oh,
enter the file
I'm
into
sorry,
the record.
Didn't I
just
ask you
for-
to do that already?
No, I did. I think we did meet and talk about this, didn't we? At
Yes,
one
we
point,
did.
like
we did,
months
Commissioner.
ago.
It was a
Yeah,
Yes.
several months back.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it
Did I-
wasn't in the context of the in lieu application. It was just kind of introducing the project as a whole.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
like
Please
Thank you.
introduce the project to the record.
Great. So this project is associated with two files, with the Level 4 site plan application that's filed 2022-018 and the specific in lieu parking fee request file 2025-164.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Commission, Troop 308. I'm here before you on item 7B, an in lieu parking fee request for the property located at 2527 Southeast 3rd Avenue. It's important to note that this project, if this request is approved today, the site plan will return for your consideration under a separate application, so this is solely the in lieu portion. With me on behalf of the applicant, we have Greg Blanco, who is the owner of the property.
By quick way of background, the application was presented to the Downtown Development Authority on May 19th of this year, where it received unanimous approval. We were scheduled to present the application before the Parking Management Advisory Board on May 27th. However, the meeting was canceled due to a lack of quorum. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to get the pointer to work. My apologies. There we go. All right. So the property is located within the Central Core Subdistrict of the Central Business District, just south of East Atlantic Avenue. The site comprises approximately 9,043 square feet with a single frontage on Southeast 3rd Avenue. Immediately to the east of the property is a one-way surface parking lot with a frontage on Southeast 4th Avenue that is also owned by the applicant. Also, the property lies within the South Atlantic neighborhood of the DDA, also known as a vibrant mixed-use neighborhood that blends boutiques, restaurants, cafes, offices, apartments, condominiums, creating the ultimate live, work, play type of environment. The property is currently improved with an 8,379 square foot, two-story office building, originally constructed on or around 1966. Its design reflects a mid-20th century car-centric planning model that is incompatible with today's pedestrian-friendly urban vision. For instance, the bank teller drive-through, which you see right here, includes a wide curb cut that interrupts the sidewalk along Southeast 3rd Avenue, creating a hazardous and uninviting pedestrian experience. Pedestrians are left to navigate crossing a vehicular access point, reducing walkability and safety. The property offers no street-level retail, outdoor seating, or active uses, all of which are key ingredients in a dynamic, walkable downtown environment. The autocentric design physically and psychologically divides Southeast 3rd Avenue, acting more as a buffer than a connector between East Atlantic Avenue and Southeast 1st Street. So how do we fix this? We fix this by revitalizing the vacant former office building and converting it into a restaurant with both indoor and outdoor dining, creating a thoughtful relationship between these indoor and outdoor spaces. We do this by repurposing the drive-through bank teller as the outdoor dining, kind of creating this active environment at the street level. So replacing the curb cut and underutilized cement pavement with sidewalk-level outdoor dining transforms the street edge into a vibrant, human-scaled space. It encourages foot traffic, supports local businesses, and creates a lively atmosphere that aligns with the city's vision for a dynamic, inviting downtown. But in addition to that, this project, as I mentioned earlier, is going to bridge the gap between the recently renovated building to the north and the former Delray Beach Market to the south, creating a highly activated, uninterrupted pedestrian experience, again, from East Atlantic Avenue through to Southeast 1st Street. It's going to add 2 new on-street parking spaces where the curb cut exists today, and it's going to introduce a dedicated on-site loading berth towards the rear of the property where no loading exists on-site today. Importantly, it's going to upgrade the surface parking lot that I mentioned to the rear that fronts 4th Avenue and bring it into compliance with the land development regulations, including improvements to paving, drainage, lighting, and landscaping. So the following slide highlights the connectivity being created by the proposed project, specifically the enhanced pedestrian connections between Southeast 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue in both directions. As shown on the elevations, changes are being made to the facade, most notably the existing bank teller. Pointer does not want to cooperate with me. But to the existing bank teller that will be repurposed as a covered outdoor dining area. This slide identifies the proposed seating areas. And this slide provides a comparison between the existing and proposed floor areas. Notably, no interior floor area is being added to the building. The additional parking requirement is solely the result of the change of use and the conversion of the bank teller drive-through into an outdoor dining area. And this is a sheet from the landscape drawings highlighting the new street trees that are going to be added and plantings to terminal islands, all aimed at enhancing the pedestrian experience and improving overall curb appeal.
Mayor, can I just make a quick point of order?
Yes.
So just to be clear, the site plan is not before you today.
I was going to get to with you. I was going to get to you. You need to start making what your request is,
Right.
because we're going to just want like your site plan, but you need to talk about why your arguments in favor of the in lieu parking.
Thank you, Mayor. Very next slide. So, you may recall on December 20th of last year, this body amended and reaffirmed the city's in lieu of parking fee program, underscoring your continued commitment to providing flexible parking solutions in designated areas of the city. In this case, the change of use and the addition of outdoor dining have increased the project's parking requirement. However, due to existing site conditions and physical constraints, it's not feasible to accommodate the 26 required parking spaces on site. As a result, the project is proposing to satisfy the requirements through a payment into the city's in lieu of parking fund. In support of this application, a parking occupancy analysis conducted by Kimley Horn has confirmed that the project meets the criteria outlined in Section 2.411F of the city's land development regulations, making it eligible to participate in the program. And so now I'll walk you through the specific criteria that apply in this particular instance. So the first criteria, the parking occupancy analysis confirmed that multiple public parking lots and garages are located within 1,320 feet of the building's entrance, along with an abundance of available on-street parking, meeting the first criteria of eligibility in the in lieu parking program. And you'll see this map here that was put together by Kimley Horn. It's identified several garages and several parking lots. In total, it indicates there are over 1,408 available parking spaces within 1,320 feet of the subject property. To satisfy the second criterion, only parking with less than an 80% utilization rate is considered to be available. The parking occupancy analysis, which incorporated both city data and on-site observations, found utilization rates well under this threshold. Approximately 41% of qualifying public lots and garages, and around 22% for the Federspiel and Old School Square garages, respectively. So in total, of the 1,400 plus parking spaces that were available, they said a total of 549 spaces met the less than 80% utilization criteria. In addition, the analysis noted that because the observations that were taken as part of their review were made during peak periods, the average occupancy of the areas studied are likely even lower than what they found in their report. With respect to the third criterion, the ordinance makes clear that the in lieu of parking fee program is intended in part to encourage revitalization and adaptive reuse of existing buildings by providing an alternative to on-site parking, helping to preserve the moderate scale and character of downtown, which is exactly what this project aims to do. And lastly, the in lieu of parking fee request does not facilitate the demolition of historic or potentially historic structures. So quick recap. There are public parking options within 1,320 feet of the subject site. There are utilization rates less than 80%. The application supports city policy-driven goals, and it does not facilitate the demolition of historic or potentially historic structures. And with that, this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so very much. Ms. Chinotis.
So I'll just be quick to explain the number that is required and why it is such a high number. I think you've gotten a very good overview from the applicant, and I think it is one of the most thorough parking analysis in terms of what's around a building that we've seen from an in lieu request as well. So we all know the project, we know the building. Ultimately, the only new use is really the transformation, as Mr. Bruce was explaining, of eliminating sort of a vehicular and an obsolete area. And so the result is they're taking the existing bank and they're changing it into a restaurant. So the change of use engenders more parking. And then the new use area that would be enclosed in that open air design. The design could change. You would see it as an appealable, even if it is not requiring city commission. So the restaurant use itself, a restaurant of this size under our rules in this location requires 65 spaces. Because this is where parking is always crazy downtown, because there's an existing building that had a use attached to it. The expectation is that that building needed 29 spaces to exist and function in its previous use. They have a parking lot, so there are physical spaces here, which is also nice, of 8 spaces. And then the changes they're making by closing that driveway result in 2 more on-street parking spaces being able to be constructed. So, ultimately they're credited for the 10 physical spaces that will result the 29 spaces that the bank was assumed to have needed, and therefore the deficit is the 26. I know this is crazy, and Mr. Ruiz was a little shocked when we explained how this worked downtown. So he came from Miami, and it was not an easy conversation. So at any rate, he is requesting 26 spaces. Again, it's over $700,000 in an in lieu fee to do this transformation. And you've gotten a very good overview of what's there. And then the findings, of course, is that there is adequate public parking available within a 5-minute walk of the space, and that this is an adaptive reuse of an existing building or an expansion of an existing building that does not result in a total of more than 2 stories in height, which this does. And there is no demolition of existing or proposed historic resources proposed. I'm here if you have questions.
Thank you very much. This board, we're opening this meeting up to public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this agenda item, please come to the lectern, give your name and address. You will each have 3 minutes.
George Long, 46 North Swinton. We need to give the man a lot of credit, or the women, whoever involved, the organization, for what they're doing there. This is one of the best examples of a adaptive type reuse, and it's just leaving the 2-story building there, eating underneath there, and that what used to be parking. You remember last time I talked about a walk that I said was boring as hell and needed work? This one was even worse. This one needs to be fixed. Thank you.
I'll take that as a yes.
Yes.
Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there any cross-examination, Mr. Ruiz, to the city or city to Mr. Ruiz?
No, Mayor. Thank you.
No? Great. Then to the commission. Mr. Marker.
Yeah, this is fortunately for me, this is a parking-rich area. There is parking in this particular location. We don't often, we can't often say that. The only thing that I would like to say to the commission at some point, I would like to put the in lieu parking on the agenda, because I think we're collecting money, and I think by its original charter we were supposed to be using that money to plan future parking garages, and since I've been up here, we haven't discussed that.
Conversation a few times.
I'm sure you have. I'm just a new guy, so. But at some point, I would like to discuss that if we could. But I'm in favor of this.
I'm with you. Mr. Long.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Markert on both accounts. Yeah, there's a ton of parking around here. I think we should be doing everything we can to encourage adaptive reuse of properties like this, especially when it's kind of filling a void like this one does. Yeah, I mean, frankly, if we didn't encourage things like this, we're never going to put anything in that property. They're always going to have that issue. So I'm excited. I think this looks like a great project. So I'm in favor. Thank you.
Commissioner Burns.
Yeah, so as they said, it has adequate public parking, and it does qualify under our new rules. And I'm with Commissioner Market. Like, what are we going to do with this money? We need to do some parking situations, but I support it. Thank you.
Commissioner Casal.
Yes, I met with the applicant, and I do support this as well. I'm the least likely to approve of in lieu parking, but when it comes to a restaurant, I always feel it's different. I think a lot of people, multiple people will come in one car, and sometimes they're parked elsewhere and walking, and it's a different situation with a restaurant, and I fully support this, and I wish you very best of luck.
I have to agree with Ms. Gianotis that this parking review was one of the best ones I think I've ever seen. I mean, it really was great. So take my hat off to Kinley Horn. They did a fabulous job for you. But I'm in support of this. I think Mr. Long succinctly said this is a very creative adaptive reuse. I think it's in the right spot. There is plenty of parking around it, what the parking study demonstrates. And I wish you great success when you get back here and do it, because you're not done. We'll see you again. But so, are there any other things? Then I need a motion.
Motion to approve resolution number 109-25.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Long,
Yes.
Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns,
Yes.
Mayor Carney,
Yes.
Commissioner Markert.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good luck. This is item number 7C. Oh, no, we pulled that.
It's been postponed.
Can we say goodbye to the children and thank them,
Goodbye.
Scouts,
Are you leaving?
for coming?
I was going to recognize you at the end of the meeting. Thank you for staying as long as you did.
Yeah.
I know this is not the most exciting, but I will tell you, don't let this be your last engagement, because you are really the future, and we need all your engagement all the time and keeping us, straight and everything else good. So congratulations and good luck to you, and hope to see you some next Memorial Day.
Great job, guys.
They're hungry like me. I'm hungry too.
They were,
On mints.
they were dying there. No, they look at they paid attention, which is great. It's more than some of us do. So we now have an amendment to the local rules of procedure and quasi-judicial rules. You want to describe? Well, there were several components to this, but the
So I think I briefly discussed this with each of you. Back in 2020, there was a workshop that was held by a previous city commission. There was a concern of what they described as board jumping. So individuals would apply for a city board, and then if a quote-unquote better board came on, became available, they would want to leave their current board and apply for that board and potentially get selected. We had an issue with that, so at that time, the commission determined that if somebody resigned from their board, from their term, they could not reapply to another city board until that term was completed. And so the local rules currently say no application for appointment shall be considered for a current board member whose term has not yet expired. We were seeking clarification. If the commission wants to continue with that policy, we just wanted to see clarification, because it doesn't really address people who resign from the board and then apply, which was really the intent of the previous commission. So we've had a few circumstances recently where individuals felt they just weren't suited for a particular board after serving for a period of time, and they wanted to reapply for boards, but under the past policy, we did not put their applications on for your consideration today. So if the commission wants to keep the current policy, we would ask that you allow us to clarify the local rules. In the event that you don't want this policy anymore, we can remove it from the local rules. I would ask, though, that for the DDA appointment and the Housing Authority appointment, we would defer those, because those were the two boards where the individuals who had resigned from their boards wished to reapply.
I, as is my custom, I called around to some other communities regarding this matter. Nobody wants to have placeholders. Nobody wants to say, look, I'll take this space on a board, but, because I'm hoping to get on this other board. Nobody really wants placeholders, because you want to appoint someone who's going to fulfill their term. But we do have circumstances where people, I will give you an example of someone who's applied recently. His term on the current board he has, after he served for a while, is up in 3 months, less than 3 months. So I understand the rule, but I think we should certainly consider that if the person is on a board after they've served their time, so to speak, and there's only minimal time left in their existing term, that they should certainly not be excluded of participating in another board. Again, I don't like placeholders. I mean, we've all seen it, and it doesn't work because you deprive someone else from sitting on a board. But as a hard and fast rule that they have to sit through their term when they've substantially completed their term, and I'm using the word substantially completed their term, then that's where I kind of think that we should have some flexibility.
So,
but
May I speak to this, Mayor, as a former board jumper myself?
Well, I was thinking of it. Well, that's why we created the rule. This
Yeah,
is the Rob Long rule for all of you who didn't know.
I caused this rule.
12 boards in 12 months. It was great.
Which I actually didn't know we had this rule, and I was under the impression that part of the reason this rule was created was because it was creating a lot of work for the clerk at the time, but we have since digitized that process. So, I served on the Green Board for a year. Then I jumped to SPRAB, served on that for a year. Then I served for 4 years on planning and zoning. And in those days, there was a lot of people interested in those what we'll call lower level boards, right? There's the big four, which is SPRAB and HPB and planning and zoning. But there's a lot of lower level boards in our city, and we are struggling more than I've ever seen to get quorum on those boards currently. So I would argue that people using those boards as a stepping stone is actually a good thing. It's how we get people on those boards. We just had our last applicant couldn't get through the parking board because they couldn't get quorum. The Green Board can't get a quorum. That used to be a super popular board, and it's because we're making people wait until a term ends even after they resign from it. I mean, it seems a little bit cumbersome. So I want to pitch sort of a compromise. I think that we should allow people to apply for boards while they're still sitting on the board, as long as they've served at least a year on that board. I think that's fair, because we don't want people getting on a board then like a month later leaving, right? And if they do leave, they should have to wait for that full year. But to make them serve out or wait a full term, I think is a little egregious. And if they do resign and they've already served for a year, they should be eligible for another board. We need to be flexible. Let's keep in mind, these are volunteers, right? And it's not easy to get people on these boards. We should be taking out all the hurdles possible to get people on these boards. They're super important, even the lower level ones. So that's my pitch. I utilize the board jumping process. I want to encourage people to get on these lower level boards because they see it as a pathway to get on planning and zoning someday, or to get on HPB someday. I think it's important.
Commissioner Burns.
Well, I think that we need to have balance and with structure and flexibility. I don't think we should be so rigid that we not consider that. You also want to look at, aligning people with their skills. As you said, using it as a springboard to a higher board. So I agree with the flexibility. I'm okay with the flexibility.
Could I ask a question, Mayor?
Well, your time. Why don't you make your comment?
Oh, okay.
You're up.
The person you're referring to has 3 months left. Wouldn't they then just smoothly move into another board? I mean, we're making appointments now for some that are starting in August.
This person, and
is it to go on the housing authority? And I think he's a better choice for the housing authority. I don't even know why he was on that board.
Around the rules, he can't apply.
I don't know why he applied for a board
I don't like placeholders, unless you're serious about it.
But we don't like changing the rules just to accommodate.
I'm not changing them. I generally agree with Commissioner Long that if people want to serve, I don't want them to act as placeholders, but they're seriously served and something else comes up. I don't want to necessarily deprive an otherwise qualified person.
Well, and also that it's also about that's the most appropriate board for that gentleman.
In this particular case, but the rules got to apply to everybody.
I know, and that's the problem. So we're looking at our rules to try and figure out a way to make it work for this person, because we all
I would say if I knew about this rule, I would have brought this up a long time ago. I didn't even know that we had this rule.
I didn't know we had it, and
this brought the rule to a head, but I think it's not about one or two people that are applying tonight. I think it's just a better system, especially based on all the vacancies and quorum issues we've been having with a bunch of our boards lately.
So you're going to say, if you've been on the board for a year and you feel it's not compatible for you and there's a better place, you can resign and then apply anywhere.
I don't think you should have to even resign. I think you should be able to throw your hat in the ring, and if you get nominated, then you should be able to leave the board as long as you've served on it for a year.
Okay. Commissioner.
Yeah, I'm a little torn. I buy your argument, but Lynn and I had a discussion about this yesterday, and we were having real problems with this in the city with people jumping, and it was creating
a big problem when I was
creating a lot of work. But I also agree with what you just said. I've been working to get the opioid board staffed, and that's been like pulling teeth. I mean, to find candidates that want to do that and have the skill set. So maybe the compromise is a year or 18 months. And I guess at the end of the day, if it turns out it doesn't work, we can come back and change it.
Right.
Most of the board appointments are how many years?
You just read my mind. I think they're.
I know. I have to stop doing that. You have to wear one of those aluminum, caps.
Please don't.
2 years, I believe.
That was.
I know that.
Outer limits before your time.
No, actually,
What year is this, 2025?
Some of the boards are 4 years. some of the
Actually,
boards are-
Housing Authority looks like it's 4 years.
Okay, so do we want to say, if we want
Half
to
the term?
compromise, I'm trying to compromise, and you said 12, 18. As the average board, I'm not looking at how, I think this is a general policy, because I happen to agree that we do have some issues. So, are the average boards like planning and zoning, how long is planning and zoning?
Couple of years.
2-year terms.
3 year?
Two.
2-year term?
Just call it half.
You can just
Well, if we
say
want to
as long
say
as you
if they've
complete
served half their term,
Okay.
you know, so if it's 1 year for planning and zoning, if it's 2 years for
We're
housing
saying half the
authority,
term regardless
if it's,
across the board.
you know.
But I think it's important we allow them to apply without resigning first. Like if if we force someone off a board and they don't get the appointment, then they've resigned from a board and they created a vacancy. So they shouldn't have to resign first, as long as they've served that year or half of their term.
I have no feeling on that one way or the other. I could, that would be fine with me, I think.
The way
Okay.
it's currently written, it doesn't require resignation. We can just say, no application for appointment shall be considered for a current board member who has not yet completed at least one half of their.
Could I say where this gets confusing, and this is why this was a problem? So you have the person applying for 2 boards up front, because when you go into the application process, you can select multiple boards.
Right.
Then they're sitting, if they haven't resigned and their name is automatically on a list and someone can appoint them, that's where it got confusing, because we would be appointing people who
No,
were,
they wouldn't be eligible for the clerk would have to make sure. that
how
they
is
would
she
not-
going to know that in her system? We don't want to
We have
create
it
a
on, I mean, it's
situation.
online, so.
I mean, I think that-
Situation where the clerk is getting more responsibility, and if there's not a way for her to manage it, because that was the issue. So people were bouncing all around, and we couldn't keep up with it.
Just one point is, if you recall, Commissioner, back then, the applications were paper.
Right.
And that's, I think, what led to a lot of the, chaos associated with it. So I think now that it's all online, we have the membership and all that criteria. It's online. Anybody can see it.
It's easy to flag when somebody gets appointed. Like I appoint Rob Long to something, his application is flagged as he's on this board, so that if he happens to appear on another board, it will say currently a member of. I mean,
If it does that.
I don't find, well,
I don't think it does.
That
but
used
if
to
it
be a
can.
question on the application. Are you currently
Right.
serving
No, but
on
it's
another
still on there.
board?
Right.
So, I mean, you kind of know that, and also we can see if it's their
So you
first
have to
choice,
update your
second choice.
application, 'cause you submit day one for 3 boards. You
Right.
get appointed to one. You're not updating your.
That's the point.
Right.
It should be updated once they're on, to say they're on here, and then pull the other two.
I think we should
Whatever.
try it. I just, you know.
I'm not.
Well, you can just not have anything, and when you appoint people, you look at their applications, and
Right.
if you see that someone's 3 months into a term, you can decide, I'm not going to support this because this person's not. So
I mean, it's a
we
big
can have
deal to give
nothing
a
in
2-year
there.
commitment, let alone a 4-year commitment. So,
Right.
because they are all volunteers.
But
and-
now you're saying we can't appoint, because the person I'm appointing is sitting here in the audience right now.
I'm
and she's
leaving
been
that up to the commission,
waiting
if
here
you-
patiently all evening
It's
to be
up to you.
appointed for the DDA. Ms. Selman, if you'd like to wave, hello. She's been sitting here since the start of the meeting because she's beyond excited to be appointed.
That was just my recommendation, but if it's your appointment and it's not going to sway you, you don't have to.
I don't know who's waiting on the list, but I don't think I'll be swayed at all. Thank you.
So
if you
Mayor,
would all
is it
accommodate me in
So
my
do we have consensus that somebody is eligible for appointment to another board if they have served 1/2 of the time that on the board that they're currently sitting?
Sure.
Is that,
Yeah.
we got that agreement?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
motion to approve the local rules in that fashion.
I need a motion.
So moved.
I need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Adopted unanimously. Perfect. Okay. We now have nomination for appointment to the code enforcement. Oh, no, yeah, we do. Code enforcement board. This is Deputy Vice Mayor Burns. You have a,
Yes, I would like to nominate Jennifer Jones.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? She's appointed. So this is the nomination for the Housing Authority Board. This one I would suggest we defer.
This is the one that one of the ones I was going to make a recommendation for deferral.
But this is also Commissioner Casal's appointment, so that's okay if we defer that?
Sure, you can defer that one.
Okay, so we are deferring 7F?
It's just one additional application.
Right, and this is not you're deferring it, this is the commission deferring it, so
yep.
otherwise you've lost your possibility to defer a second
Correct.
time. So the commission is deferring 7F. Do we have consensus on that, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect, okay. We now have 7G, which is an appointment to the Downtown Development Authority Board. This will be made by Commissioner Casal.
Thank you so much. I would like to select Ms. Zellman, Jules Zellman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's appointed. Next item on our agenda is public hearings. Okay, we have ordinance number 04-25. This is a second reading.
Just to clarify on this, it's Giuliardi, and she's from Zellman.
I'm sorry, what?
That was on the last.
I just
item.
want to make sure you know whom I'm properly selecting.
Who did you properly select?
Her last name is Giuliardi Zellman. But it just says Giuliardi.
Oh, that's fine, okay. I knew who you meant, so.
I'm sorry?
You said Julie, so
Jul-
she was only Julie on the list.
Yes, that's correct.
So it wasn't hard to figure out.
Congratulations on your appointment.
Go ahead.
Ordinance number 0425, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, amending the land development regulations of the City of Delray Beach Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, zoning regulations, Article 4.3, district regulations, general provisions, Section 4.3.3, special requirements for specific uses, to adopt subsection D, retail tobacco and nicotine products dealer, to enact regulations governing the location and operations of retail tobacco and nicotine products dealers, and by amending Article 4.4 base zoning district, Section 4.4.13 central business CBD district, subsection C, allowable uses, to adopt distancing requirements for standalone retail tobacco or nicotine products dealers, and by amending Appendix A definitions to adopt a definition for retail tobacco or nicotine products dealers, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, authority to codify, and providing an effective date. And this is a public hearing.
Great. To the city.
Hopefully there's a presentation in that mix. There it is. Okay. Okay, so this is a city-initiated LDR amendment that limits the frequency of retail tobacco and nicotine product establishments. I believe that the discussion and the need for this came up with discussions with the executive director of the DDA, Ms. Simon. We were sharing concerns about how tobacco shops have evolved over time, and the vape shops have a different character than the tobaccoist, as it's referred to in the current LDRs. So, at any rate, so there is concern about the proliferation of these shops, not just within the downtown, but also throughout the city. So the proposed limitations in the ordinance basically would require that they be separated by at least 750 feet, so we don't get cluster too many of them. For the central business district, which has a finer grain fabric, the city would also be limited to no more than one per block. There is also a definition of what a retail tobacco or nicotine dealer is, which is the way that it's licensed by the state of Florida for the sale of tobacco products and nicotine products, things like that. So there's an additional prohibition on frequency of separating them by at least 300 feet from established residential zones, schools, public parks, daycares. This is a similar separation that we have for alcohol sales that is applied even at the state level. So if it is a grocery store or a convenience store or pharmacy, that would still be allowed to sell that as part of all the other things they sell, but this is really targeted more towards the standalone shops. There are also prohibitions for this use that would tackle window displays, what's allowed to be, presented to the sidewalk, things like that. It's very similar to, we have existing regulations related to cannabinoid oil Those are also more restrictive, and when in doubt, those would rule if a shop is selling both. Standalone retail and tobacco products, there's an hours of operation that are proposed from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So some of our businesses can be open until 12 a.m. and then others, with if they're far enough away from residential use, can be open later. And so this would just limit those as well. So the Planning and Zoning Board reviewed this item on April 21st and recommended approval 6-0. They actually wanted to increase the separations that were proposed and then to use like 1,000 feet from churches or schools, and that there would be an amortization attached to the regulation that would require shops that are too close to one another to then close. One of them would have to close. The ordinance before you does not incorporate these recommendations. The last one just, I think, legally starts to be a little bit of a challenge for established businesses. So the proposal that staff has before you maintains the similar separations that we have established for other uses, alcohol, cannabis oil, even business tattoo establishments. So we didn't see the need to go beyond the distance that those other uses are using. So that basically concludes my presentation. If I'm here if you have any questions.
I have a question, if it's okay, Anthea. So just for clarification, I just would love to know this. I'm sure you'll know this. I just don't know it. But in the world we live in today, retailer formats are really blurred, and there's a lot of mixed-use retailers out there. How do you determine when somebody's got kind of a convenience store and they've got kind of a vape shop and they've got kind of a liquor store, and how do you make that determination? Where's the cutoff line?
So we have the definition of accessory uses in terms of, like, for the pharmacies, the cannabis oil, there's a limitation on the area of the shop that can be limited to that. I think in this case, the standalone ones are when it is a vape shop. Like when you see some of those actually on the street now. And that was, I'm trying to see what the final language says too here. I'm going to flip and flip and flip.
Because I agree, the lines are blurred as what is standalone. You know,
Very blurred.
there's that the Ace Hardware one, which is already up and running, which is one. Is that a because they do other stuff other than vaping and nicotine? They sell other little things here, so they become a convenience store?
Well, keep in mind that right now a standalone tobacco shop is allowed. So now the way that tobacco and all of the things that people may smoke has changed into vapes and has changed into other things. And so sort of our old-fashioned smoke shop has become something different, and that was allowed by right already. So there wasn't, that's part of why this ordinance is before you, to try to say maybe not so many of those in the city. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be a fuddy-duddy, but maybe we should look at some of that too.
Right. Well, well, that's what this would do then. You're saying the accessories.
I'm going to support this because I think we need this, but I don't know if it's going to do what we want it to do.
You're saying the accessory sale of it? Well, if the
I think
shop
they
is
become-
more than, I think the accessory regulation, if it's more than certainly more than half, then that would be the primary use. You can't have it.
So are we going to require them to provide us with financial information showing that less than 50% of their revenues are derived from something other than? Or
It's not necessarily revenue, it's the area of the store that would be dedicated to some of those uses. And so I think it's closed now, but when you come off of 95, there's this freestanding building. That's all that building sold for a while.
Oh, that one's easy.
So that's easy. But to your point, I think if it's more than, it's defined in the code, if accessory use, if it's more than 40%, then becomes a principal and it would be subject to the separation. But,
The bigger problem is enforcement, right? Because we have the rules,
I
but
know.
we've found that you go in and things are being sold, and then you have to report it to the city, then code has to go out and cite them, and then sometimes there was even the question, he's not here, but what is the content of the item that they're selling, and can you prove what it is? So it's challenging.
That's what I said. I don't know this is going to do what we want, but I mean.
It's
we
better
have to
than
start
nothing,
somewhere.
though.
So the
right?
definition is that the business is authorized to engage in the retail sale of that. So standalone means that's all they do.
Correct.
And then if anything that is more than the accessory limitation, on anything, it's still considered the principal use. We would have to separate it out. So I would recommend that so that we get something on the books now, we can move forward with this, and then we can go back and double check the accessory, and I will send something to you following this in terms of how that, I sell sandwiches, beer, and this stuff would work.
Yeah,
And
I don't think this is
you
going to be the
can-
last time we look at this
Right,
ordinance.
and then we can bring back a refinement on the accessory part if that's what we need to do, but right now there's nothing.
Did
on
we
the-
randomly select the 750? I mean, what if you made it 4 miles? I know, and I know.
That's important. They can do it anyway. So.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
think
point.
we
The
have
renders
to.
are meaningless.
We have to have some
Mayor,
sort of
just a
reasonable
reminder, public
separation so
It's a
that.
public hearing.
I don't know. We'll get there.
Okay, so right now, again, the separation, the 750 between each other and the 300 feet from the place are the same ways that it's consistent with the ones that we separate that are bars, standalone bars, and the way that we do
Whole host of other
CBD oil.
Right.
So nicotine
Have to keep it.
is following the suit of those other identified concerns.
Got
Okay.
it.
All right. This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this ordinance, please come to the lectern, give your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Great. Good evening, Laura Simon, Executive Director for the Downtown Development Authority. Thank you so much, Anthea and your team, for bringing this forward. I think also from the Downtown Development Authority's board, who is really supporting this, also suggested to exclude Atlantic Avenue from the allowable place for these shops within the. In addition to
To
the
not
7
allow them on Atlantic.
Do not allow them
It's
on
like we have
Atlantic
it
Avenue.
right by the Colony Hotel there. That
You
one.
have several, yeah.
Right.
So from West Atlantic all the way, down to the beach. So there are several, and then I think the other important thing to point out is once they're closed, that use is not allowed, obviously. So if they close,
I mean,
they
if they're
can't
grandfathered in or.
So if they close their store and another one can't open up right after that, so the use is gone. So once it's closed, the use goes away.
Right.
Does that make
That would
sense?
be the rule anyway, wouldn't it, Anthea? If you.
There's
you
not
have the
180
zoning- If you actually
days or-
cease business, and the zoning changes, you can't just go back in just because the prior was there.
It follows, if it was legally established for downtown, it's a shorter period of time. It's only 90 days between a non-conforming use being replaced by another one. The rest of the city is 180 days, where if another one doesn't come in and establish, then it's over. But that is the way non-conforming uses are.
But I would agree
handled.
with having a different rule here.
Yes.
Would that be something, can we do that?
Um,
I mean, if it's a non-conforming use and they shut down and it's on Atlantic, we're limiting it to Atlantic, so it's a geographic limitation.
I mean, I think some of that is a legal question of whether one non-conforming use is handled in a much more stringent way than other ones. So I don't know, Len, if there's anything.
I hesitate to make changes to this right now, because we did have to advertise it, I believe twice. So because of the use portion of it, we can look at
We
it
can come
and
back.
bring it back.
I
Yeah.
thought we talked about that when we first discussed this. Right, because there's the two, there's the one, and he was selling all kinds of stuff. Because I went in there, and then there's the other further down, closer to the beach. So we approve this evening, and then in the future, we come back
Yeah,
a second time and out Atlantic.
Council will
as
come
soon as
back with a
possible.
recommendation of what we can,
I
how
mean,
we can tighten it up.
Not the non-conforming thing, but if we have a prohibition by frequency, we have, so if they had CBD oil, they couldn't be on a required retail street.
Right.
But, I mean, couldn't we approve this with taking them off of a required retail street as well? Now? I mean,
I'm just, no.
Okay.
It wasn't included in the advertised
Right.
portion, that's the issue.
It's unfortunate.
Okay, so would you like a motion to approve this as it is?
Well, no, we're open to the public. Are there members of the public? Well, you're the
That
public,
was
you're
it.
done. Huh? No, I understand.
That was the
You're walking
public.
away, so. Did you have more to say?
I had one more thing, because that
Okay,
one
well,
I got kind of
your
interrupted.
3 minutes is up. I'm sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
You were talking in my time. You took my 3 minutes.
Go ahead.
No, just I think the one last point that that our board brought forward too is around the signage. If there's within, just really I know we have sign regulations, but there was some comments and suggestions around the signage as well. So I just wanted to make sure that those were for the record.
Okay, we'll have to include that when we look at it. Yeah.
I mean, your lodge, those are in there already.
Yeah, we can do that already. We can.
It's already there.
Yeah, it's already there.
I mean,
Can-
if you have if the name of your business is something, you get to use
Right.
it, but.
Can we do the 1,000-foot separation without it being reissued? We can't do that either? All right, then I guess we approve this version and bring it back and consider.
So are there any
some
other
other-
members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, public comment is closed to the commission.
Motion to approve ordinance number 04-25.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? It is passed. Now we have 8B, right?
Yes.
8B.
Resolution number 121-25, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Delray Beach, Florida, approving the conveyance of that certain parcel of real property located at 196 Northwest 8th Avenue, Delray Beach, Florida, and the lot adjacent thereto, as more particularly described herein, to the American Legion Post number 188, Inc., authorizing the mayor to execute all documents necessary to effectuate such conveyance, providing an effective date and further purposes.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, did you have a comment?
Did you want me to give you a brief explanation?
Well, you have anything to,
I didn't make a slideshow.
didn't make
so
the slide.
I
We'll
was
go ahead
just
and,
going to
we'll have
briefly
to use our imaginations.
Exactly. So as part of the settlement agreement with the American Legion, the city was required to consider the conveyance of the American Legion building, as well as a lot directly adjacent to the building. Based on the direction from the commission, I did have our outside counsel prepare a quit claim deed with certain conditions contained within the deed. Those would include an automatic right of reverter, that if any condition or obligation that's imposed on the Legion is violated, the conveyance of the property automatically and immediately terminates, and all rights and title and interest in the property, as well as the improvement in the fixtures, revert back to the city. There are reverter conditions. Based on the commission's direction, the conditions would not commence until the certificate of completion for all improvements or a certificate of occupancy is issued by the city and the occupancy of the property, or July 1st, 2028. So that gives essentially 3 years.
That's the outside date. After July, it's got to be done.
Correct, of 2028.
Of 2028, right.
The American Legion must use the property and occupy the property for the nonprofit purpose of a meeting hall for the American Legion Post, and may use and occupy the property for attendant community activities and for no other purpose. The American Legion is required to keep the property open year-round to the public at least 5 days a week, and hours of operation shall be at least from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that was something that the mayor discussed about. They can be open later, that's just the minimum, or earlier. The American Legion must maintain their tax-exempt status throughout the ownership of the property. They shall pay when due and without requiring any notice all taxes, assessments of any property or any nature of other charges that are levied against the property. And the American Legion shall pay and discharge any claim, mortgage lien, or encumbrance against the property before a default or delinquency. The deed does define what attendant community activities are. They must be approved in writing by the city manager.
Can you move your mic up a little? I'm just hearing you going in and out.
The attendant activities, they must be approved by the manager or the designee, and they're limited to community activities that are consistent with an American Legion's historical use of the property for the occasional use of the property by nonprofit organizations, social gatherings by members, and family members of the American Legion and/or members of the community for special events, gatherings such as graduations, funerals, weddings, baby showers, birthdays, community service events, and gatherings for fundraising. This is all listed on the deed. We did go a little bit back and forth with their attorney, and he suggested some changes, which we did accept. And so,
Could you list those changes? What were the suggested changes that he
it was
made?
really only one, and the change was the first reverter condition I had put in there, that when a certificate of occupancy is issued by the city, he requested a certificate of completion or a certificate of occupancy, because it would depend on the nature of the renovations. And I didn't have an issue with that because
Right.
it was an or. And that was essentially the only,
I think we talked about renting out, so you're saying use for, you touched on their use, but are they permitted to rent the facility out?
yes,
And how will that work?
approval by the manager.
Sorry, say that again?
Approval by the manager.
City manager?
Yes.
And what about the, I had concerns about the fact that we were giving them some of their legal fees. That was the only thing. I am very supportive of this, but I did not, the city of Delray Beach was not in the wrong here. And this was an unfortunate situation. And we incurred a lot of legal fees in this exchange. And they incurred legal fees, some the result of the fact that I think there were questions about their representation, what have you, and that's unfortunate. But are we giving them money
As part
towards
of
their
this-
legal fees?
As part of the settlement agreement, they will be receiving $5,000.
I thought we should. I think we should walk away and we pay our legal fees, which are over $65,000. And this is what I said last time, Mayor. And you said, well, we can discuss it next time. And I knew
No.
that once you went and made that offer, we couldn't. So I'm sorry. I'm glad they're back in, and I wish them the best. But I don't.
Just to be clear, we have accepted the settlement agreement with
Right,
that
and that's-
condition, and I understand that Commissioner
But I
Casal's
brought
not in
it up
support.
last time.
I
and-
understand, but there was a majority of the commission who directed me to issue that as part of the settlement agreement, and we've done that, and the check is ready to be sent.
Okay. Thank you.
Before we get into Commissioner comment here, this is a public meeting. Any members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please come to the lectern, give your name and address for the record, and you will each have 3 minutes.
Ernestine Holiday, 40 Northwest 9th Avenue, Delray Beach.
Yes,
To the
ma'am.
Mayor and Commissioner, I am here in favor of you returning the American Legion back to Legionnaires. I grew up here in Delray, and there are a number of things that building was used for. They were kind enough to let the Caring Kitchen use it for a number of years. And when the Caring Kitchen was removed, the letter that was sent out to that gentleman, that man had been dead for at least 5 or 6 years or more. And the person that took over after him had even deceased. So I feel that it was unjust to lock it up and take it away when there was a 100-year lease on this building, because 100 years have not passed yet. It was built in 1947 by the Legionnaires, so why should it be returned to the American Legion? My thought is, with all the memories that we have of things that the Legionnaires did with that building, they allowed people to have birthday parties. Even Mr. Youngblood, his daughter was my classmate, and as a teenager, I went there to a birthday party. There were weddings, baby showers, wedding anniversaries. In fact, my dad celebrated his 75th birthday right there at the American Legion, and he lived to be 95, and he died in 2002. So the memories that we have of that building are many, and I'm probably one of those the older ones that can remember some of the things that happened there. But we would love to see it back in our community, and we think that they deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Andrea Bruton, 703 Place Tavant. I come before you as the first Vice Commander of the Sherman-Williams Post 188. We're excited about the partnership being garnered between Post 188 and the city, and thanks to Commissioner Burns for the phenomenal leadership and hard work. We're working together to transform Post 188 into a true asset for both the veterans and the wider community. This is also a call to action inviting the entire community to get involved by offering their time as volunteers, their talents in the form of expertise, and their treasure through financial contributions. It's time to get Post 188 back to its intended purposes of our ancestors. As a little girl, I remember my grandparents celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary at this building, and we wanna bring it back to, and that's just one of several events that I remember celebrating at Post 188, so it means a lot to us to have you giving it back to us and we can get back in and get to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, Commission, my name is Chuck Ridley. I reside at 210 Northwest 2nd Avenue. I am going to read into record a letter from Sarah Selznick to update you on our fundraising activities. Dear Mayor and Commission, on behalf of the Shared Future Foundation, I want to sincerely thank you for your support in helping restore and return American Legion Post 188 to the veterans and the community of the set. I am proud to share that we have officially launched a fundraising campaign to support the restoration and reopening of this historic space. Shared Future Foundation has committed to match up to $50,000 in donations over the next few months. And in addition, we are actively in conversations with at least 3 other foundations that have expressed strong interest in supporting the efforts. Program planning is already well underway, and as soon as the keys are in hand, we will move swiftly to finalize the construction drawings. Thank you for your leadership. This is a powerful example of what is possible when the city and community works together. Warmly, Sarah Selznick, President, Shared Future Foundation. I also, as a community activist and longtime member of Post 188, want to thank this commission, especially you, Commissioner Burns, for partnering with our community to move forward. It is time for us to do this. We're going to make this a beacon of our community, welcoming to veterans and our community. You're spot on. We don't always agree, but we agree on this one, and let's take this and run. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Now is my time.
No, but we're going to deduct the time you up here before, though, so don't worry about it.
Okay. Greetings, City Commissioner. I live at 815 Northwest 2nd Street. My name is Dr. Deborah J. Wright, right across from American Legion Hall. That they changed it. I grew up there for over 70-some years. My father, Preston Wright, Lucille Wright, and there are other people in the community. And I found that Pompey Park is a wonderful place, but they're deluged with activities. And we need another place, and I would like to see American Legion Hall like it was years ago. We had it for Girl Scout meetings, Boy Scout meetings, everything that a community could ask for. And we didn't have to run into a conflict with things being used. So I fully support, and I really hope that you support us having the American Legion Hall back again for the community, so that we can have a plethora of places for our young kids to go and to do things in the community that needs to be done. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wright.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I'm so happy to see you in that seat.
Thank you.
James Bassa, 102 Northwest 14th Avenue, Delray Beach,
We
Florida.
go a long way back.
Long way back. That's why I'm happy to see you sitting
I'm
in that
happy to
chair.
see you. I'm happy you're looking great.
Yes, thank you. Thank
Continue.
you.
I'm sorry. Don't take
You
your
as
time.
well. I'll come hug you and kiss you later. As we discuss the post, I think this is more than just a bad situation that could have taken place. And Ms. Commissioner, you said the city did nothing wrong. I don't think it's about the city having done anything wrong or the post having done anything wrong. It's almost like a separation and a conflicting marriage. The wife had one side, the husband had one side. Now they've sat with arbitrators and have said, you know what, let's move forward and let's direct this marriage into the right direction for prosperity and to create a better foundation. What we're gonna do with the post now, we're gonna take the post from the past and all the memories we have. I went to parties there. That was the only place I could go where my mom trusted that there would be supervision and I wouldn't get in trouble. So I went to parties there, I went to weddings there like everybody else said. But the thing we're gonna do now is we're gonna move it into the future. We're gonna address technology situations so the kids that don't have access to technology can come to us. We're gonna address building institutional legacies with these kids. I myself teach aviation with Civil Air Patrol. We're gonna try to bring some of that into the post as well. So from leadership to technology to aviation, we're gonna bring everything we can and include it in our rebuilding and new building this post. And I just appreciate all the work you guys have done, from the commissioners to the mayor to city council to the city manager. Let's move forward. We're gonna do great things together, and we're gonna make this building an icon for the city of Delray. Thank you.
Jim, I married 47 years. I find it most productive to take my wife's side. It really
Every time.
Every time.
And then go outside and cuss.
Absolutely.
Hello, my name is Simon Barnes. I'm a member of Post 188, Marine Corps veteran, law enforcement veteran. My history goes back to 5th Avenue, 104 Northwest 5th Avenue, which was 5th Avenue Pharmacy. My father, Simon C. Barnes, first pharmacist in Delray Beach, one of maybe 3 at the time in Palm Beach County. Mother was an educator, Florence Barnes. They opened up the pharmacy at 5th Avenue and in Boynton Beach. This particular location, as a child, I go back to at least 7 years old, maybe earlier, in reference to going to this location, which was a safe spot, as previously mentioned, in reference for children in this neighborhood and in the black community. It was the standalone location which people could go to, fraternities, sororities, have meetings. A lot of the black professionals on 5th Avenue, on West Atlantic Avenue, met there, and it was always a professional situation there. There were children, such as myself, that went to dances there, that went to meetings there, as I was brought there by my father, who also brought me to the city commission meetings and told me over 45 years ago, community redevelopment was coming. Be ready. It's here. It came. But this particular location plays a part in the black community that should never go away. Unfortunately, some of the elders in Post 188, the originals, as time had it, they passed away. And at the time, there were few that were involved, and many that have now become involved in reference to Post 88, in reference to their military service. So I would applaud you for coming to this point of bringing this marriage back together, which it is. It brings a community together. and it's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes.
Hi. Nancy Channon, 200 Northeast 2nd Avenue. I just want to thank Commissioner Burns and all of you for having this happen. You know, I was with EJS, and it's really one of those examples of just things happening for a reason and things happening the way they should happen. I'm really excited about it. I've already donated. I urge anyone who's able to donate to the Shared Future Foundation. And I just want to, instead of criticizing, I want to say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Channon.
I think it's great, especially in this time where a lot of history is being erased. I think this is really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak on this matter? Public comment is closed. To the commission, do you want to start? Why don't you start?
Sure. I would want to make my comments after we vote, but I'll go ahead and assume. I just want to say that today is an amazing moment for restoration and respect and recognition of Post 188. And as Ms. Odom said, 188C, and that C stands for colored. That's what that C stands for. With this vote, if we are in the affirmative, we will return American Legion posts to the rightful hands of those who have long served not only our country, but this community with honor, dignity, and resilience. This Post 188 is a home of history, as many have said, a place of pride and a space for future generations of veterans and their families. For years, it's already been said, it was a gathering space, a support center, a symbol of Black excellence in our community. And many times it was faced with injustice and adversity. However, we were resilient. Today, I'm hoping that we honor your legacy by helping you secure your future and doing the right thing here. Thank you, Post 188, for your patience and your persistence and your purpose in this effort. To the community, I think this is a win for all of us because the American Legion will serve the community as a whole. So congratulations, Post 188, your legacy continues. I am very excited about the Shared Future Foundation and the plans and the work that Ms. Sarah and her organization is doing. I talked to two uniformed gentlemen on the day of the press conference who are working to secure grants. So it's already coming together. And as Nancy said, if you want to support, it's there to support. And so I'm just really, really excited about this. And that's all I have to say. I'm ready to make a motion, but I'll let you guys say something first.
We'll feign like this is a democracy up here. Okay. Mr. Long.
Well, that's a tough act to follow. I guess I'll start by saying that when we last talked about this, part of the reason we made this decision was we wanted to help the Legion open up doors for fundraising so they could be successful in reviving this historic institution. So if we start talking about legal fees over, frankly, a de minimis amount of money, I think we're missing the point. At this point, it should be about celebration and coalescing as a community and as a partnership between the Legion and the city. And how do we help you guys? What can we do that helps you raise money, and how do we help return this institution to be the community hub that it once was? And I really look forward to being part of that and seeing that happen. And I'm glad we finally got here. It took a long time. There's a lot of hurdles, and I'm glad we finally got here. And I happen to agree with Ms. Odom and with the Deputy Vice Mayor that the C should be retained. I think it's an important part of that, the legacy of that Legion. So I'm obviously fully in support. Thanks.
Post 188, I think this is, to me, a giant feel-good moment for all of Delray. I feel really great about that. I get really excited when all the residents come up and are so excited. Chuck Ridley didn't yell at me today. I mean, that's a big day for me. You guys probably don't understand that. But it's so great to see the community rallying behind this. I think it's great. And to echo Rob's word, I mean, this is a big moment for our city. This is a big step. Probably took a little longer to get here than we would have liked, but we're here. So we've arrived, and I think we can plant the flag and make this really work. I'm excited about it.
Commissioner Casal.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. I'm happy that you're getting the land. I mean, this lease is equivalent of giving the land, and I'm thrilled about that. I think that I have the most respect for Sarah Selznick, and I think you'll do amazing things with it, but I honestly don't support giving anybody legal fees under circumstances when we're in litigation, and I apologize. You'll find me consistent across the board on that, and sorry. Thank you.
I got a call on this last year from Mr. Witherspoon, who wanted to talk about something important, and so we met and was talking about Post 188. I think you may remember in my last newsletter, or 2 newsletters ago, where I featured and talked about your post as one of the historical posts here in Delray Beach, in terms of veterans and the American Legion and all that, and I was happy to include it. I'm going to have to disagree with one thing. This is not being given to the set. This is being given to the city, because I consider American Legions to belong to all of us. And so I'm happy it's in the set, and I would insist that you keep the C, because that's also an important legacy. So I have no problems with that. I'm very happy that we're going to be able to get this building and your organization up and running again. Although I know you've still been active, at least you'll now have a place to share all your what you're trying to do with the community, and I applaud your continued efforts, and I wish you the best in trying to in putting this back together. So we need a motion.
Motion to approve resolution number 121-25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry, I'm opposed.
We have this 4-1. Commissioner Casal.
Mayor, because it is a conveyance, can we do a roll call?
What?
It's a
Okay,
roll
I'm
call.
sorry. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Casal.
No, sorry.
Deputy Vice Mayor Burns.
Yes.
Mayor Carney.
Yes.
Commissioner Markert.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Congratulations. There's been a lot of applauding here today, but actually that was something to applaud for. Normally I don't do applause. Anyway, we have no first readings. Comments and inquiries on the non-agenda items to the city manager.
I yield at this time. Thank you.
Great. To the city attorney.
I would just request that any discussion we have on how to utilize the PFAS proceeds, if we can just wait until the August meetings to have that discussion. I know Mr. Moore is looking into some things to provide some settlement options for you. So if we could just do that in August, I would appreciate that.
So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is either the August 12th or August 5th regular meeting. So we will schedule an agenda item to that effect, and we'll be able to go from there. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other things for this? Commissioner Casal, any comments?
Yes, thank you. So when we had public comment, Mr. Cannon, whom I happen to like a lot, got up and he made some statements about the pension. And he first said the drop money is not taxpayer money. Taxpayers pay into that. That is how that money happens to be there. Yes, they don't pay the full amount. There are contributions, but for the most part, I think it's over 65% of that pay-in comes from the taxpayers. So if Mr. Cannon is listening, I'd like to just let him know that. And also, Mr. Cannon made a statement about the 185 money. He said it would be useful to use it to pay down the liability. But in fact, what's on the table is not using that money to pay down the liability. It is a cost share program, which would basically be just money distributed among the staff, not money which is currently being used to pay down the pension liability. So I'd like to make that clear. Second, and fun, Davis Cup tickets are on sale. Anybody who likes tennis, September 12th and 13th will be amazing fun. I'll be there the entire time. look for me. And then also, Mr. Moore, and I don't know, I want to try and say this delicately. I'm so upset by the email that we all received today from the gentleman who has been violating our code, who sent a comment about disseminating information about one of our employees over time, and basically said that he would be continuing to provide information to Delray residents. I had to control myself from responding to that email. And I don't know what you plan on doing about that. That is inappropriate. And by the way, I would like to say, from my perspective, as one of 5 up here, you've given that gentleman way too much of the taxpayers' valuable time. Meeting with you and Mr. Orris, constantly trying to resolve problems that are out of control and not getting corrected. And yes, I realize, Mayor, I've brought this up 25 times up here, but we still have the same situation going on.
It's only 24, 25, I'll remind you.
Next time will be 25. But my problem is our staff work hard. They deserve to be protected from persistent offenders when they are merely doing their job. And when you and I met in the conference room, I am not in a position to direct you individually. But what I did say to you is, I feel, in light of the situation with this individual, his threats for litigation and what have you, perhaps the engagement should be limited to email. And then you're meeting with him, and you've got other people. He said it in his email he wrote when I sat down and met with you and Mr. Orris.
Some time ago.
Okay, here's the thing. You need to protect your employee. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what you can do about it. Perhaps you can talk to the city attorney. I don't know if we have any recourse, but having our staff being attacked by somebody who is violating our rules in the city is totally unacceptable to me. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Markert.
I'll be very brief. If you were paying attention last week, we did have a chance to meet with the Davis Cup people, and that was a fabulous meeting, and really excited about getting an event like that in Delray in September. Now we just got to pray there's no hurricanes. But that's a great event. Hats off to the team that managed to get Delray an event like that. It's fantastic. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Burns.
I'll pass.
Okay. Commissioner Long.
Yeah, so first off, I'd just like to quickly thank Parks and Rec and all the folks involved this weekend to do the Pride Festival. I unfortunately missed it. I had a family obligation out of town, but I heard it was great and it was well attended, and I just want to recognize all the folks involved with that. I think it's an important event for our community and our identity as a city. So I have a rather lengthy comment to read tonight, so bear with me. I'll try and get through it quickly here. So before addressing a broader issue, I want to begin by recognizing 2 leaders in our police department, one departing and one who's stepping up. First, Chief Russ Major, after 29 years of dedicated service to the city of Delray Beach, Chief Major has stepped down, as you all know. And it's hard to overstate the impact that he's had not only on the department, but on the safety and strength of our community. Over nearly 3 decades, he rose through every rank, from patrol to SWAT to the command staff, and ultimately chief. He led with discipline, integrity, and a steady hand. Under his leadership, Delray Beach launched a cutting-edge surveillance and crime monitoring initiative that, once fully operational, will be among the most advanced public safety systems in Palm Beach County. He also expanded specialized units, strengthened officer training, and championed a community-first model that fostered trust while addressing evolving threats. What many may not realize is that Chief Major also successfully led the department through a prior staffing crisis. He stabilized operations, improved morale, and laid the groundwork for meaningful recruitment and retention. That a new and far worse crisis emerged now is not a reflection of failed leadership, but of failed support. His departure is not just a personal loss, it is an institutional one. And the fact that his distinguished career ends amid deep dysfunction and preventable attrition is frankly an indictment of how this city has handled public safety at the highest level, our level. But there is a silver lining. Now our interim chief, Daryl Hunter. He brings with him a high level of pedigree, experience, and trust from both within the department and across the community. He understands the internal dynamics of this department, the values of this community, and the urgency of this moment. Chief Hunter is not just ready to lead, he already is leading. At a time when we need stability, clarity, and credibility from within, he is the right person in the right place, and I will strongly oppose any effort to launch a national search or consider outside candidates. The leader this department needs is already here. That brings me to broader challenges that have led us to this moment, and what I believe we must confront honestly if we want to move forward. The resignation of Chief Major is more than just a staffing change, it is a rupture. When a police chief with 30 years of decorated service walks away, citing dysfunction and a lack of institutional support, we should not be looking for someone to blame. We should be asking ourselves how we got here and how to fix it. Now, much has been said over the last few days since his departure, but the clearest insights didn't come from campaign-style emails. They came from sworn testimony under oath in the May 14th magistrate hearing, the 389-page transcript of which we just received this past Friday. That transcript painted a sobering picture, a department hollowed out by attrition, with leadership forced to operate under impossible conditions. What we saw was not a failure of command, but the cumulative effect of understaffing, unfilled vacancies, and stalled contract negotiations that have pushed morale to a breaking point. These are not partisan claims, they're facts established in a legal setting by officers and city officials alike. They are inboxes filled with messages prompted by a personal newsletter encouraging residents to contact the full commission. Many of those messages repeated political talking points that misrepresented our police union, the DROP program, in the broader context of these negotiations. But what they leave out was recorded under oath in the May 14th magistrate hearing, sworn testimony from our own actuary that extending the drop would likely save the city money, a finding that our chief financial officer confirmed. That analysis was requested by this commission, and yet some of us chose to ignore its findings, ignoring the fact that an 8-year drop is becoming the standard across the county, including our own fire department. Instead, for nearly 8 months, the only action this commission has taken was to restructure the contract to boost entry-level salaries by defunding the more senior officers, a move our actuary cautioned could become structurally unsound over time, even comparing the approach to a Ponzi scheme if not rebalanced. That's all we've done in 8 months. No contract, worsening attrition, and a self-imposed budget constraint created by the rollback rate we passed last year. We cannot scapegoat our career officers while refusing to take accountability for the stalemate we're now in. Yes, the city has offered a $15.2 million package, but during negotiations, we were shown data comparing Delray Beach to nearby municipalities and the sheriff's office, and Delray Beach ranked near the bottom of the pack in terms of benefits and compensation. Our police department is an essential service that operates in a competitive market. Simply calling the contract expensive without providing context is a way to spin the issue and deflect from the real problem. The fact is, we are not offering competitive wages. We've wasted over 8 months with a majority. I'm not going to say this part, I'm going to be friendly about it. The truth is, our city is in the midst of a public safety reckoning. The loss of institutional knowledge, the collapse of morale, and the vacuum left by Chief Major's resignation are not abstract, they're real, and they're visible in every shift and in every precinct. If we care about the next generation of officers, the ones walking into an understaffed department without a permanent chief, we need to stop waging a PR war and start doing the work. That includes negotiating a fair contract, one that ensures long-term retention, honors service, and builds trust, not just among officers, but among residents. To our officers, past and present, I want you to know this. I hear you. I see what you've endured. And I will continue pushing for a process rooted in truth, respect, and real leadership. Let's move forward. Let's do our damn job so our police can do theirs.
Okay, I've got a few comments to make here. With respect to the rollback rate, that was after the city had 45% tax increases for 5 straight years. Some of those budgets you voted for, and I think at some point the taxpayers do deserve a break because it is their money. As for the drop program not costing any money, when you take money out of an account and put it into another account, the account from which you take that money stops earning interest on it. And if that account, by the way, is the city's responsibility to keep funded, and if there is a shortfall, it's the city that makes up for it. So we can play shell games and everything is saying it doesn't cost the city any money. It does. We're losing the interest on it at the very least. So we can argue that point. We can. I don't want to litigate it up here. I do agree that the email regarding our head of code enforcement was inappropriate, and I'm very disappointed that it was written. I think, and especially the threat of spreading stuff around to everybody. I mean, anyone can do that about anyone, and I've never liked it, and I certainly don't approve of somebody who is in some type of negotiation with the city to try to resolve something, to try to put that veiled threat out there, and I think that's most unfortunate that he did that. I'm going to say that I intend to become an ex officio member of the DDA under Section 4.3 of the Articles, under Section 4.3 of the bylaws of the DDA, and pursuant to Florida statute and the enabling statute for the DDA, the mayor, and this is not up for controversy, it's the mayor, has the right, or his designee, has the right to sit as an ex officio member of the DDA, allowed to participate in conversations, can't vote. So that is, I'm expecting a chair for the next meeting.
Wait, you're chairing the next meeting?
No, I expect a chair
Oh,
at the table, seat at the table.
Can
whatever
we
you
all
wanna
get a
call it.
chair?
Huh?
Can we all get a chair?
No,
or is
it's
it
in the
just you?
statute, it's just me.
Oh.
It says mayor, it's very specific.
I'll come with you and I won't.
That's
I
what
won't
the
sit at-
statute
I'll sit at
says.
the side
Well, you can
table.
be in the audience, you get recognized, you can have your 3 minutes. No, excuse me, a DDA only gives you 2 minutes. See, I'm generous, I give 3.
You are.
I have a question on policy. I was recently contacted by someone from a neighboring city who had been in an accident in the city and destroyed a median. Knocked down trees or did whatever they did. They got a bill from the city for the repair based on the theory that it was destruction of public property. They went against the guy's auto insurance. They called me and they said, can they do that? I said, well, you know, if you had the accident and if you ran into my house, my insurance company would try to collect from yours. We don't do that in this city, do we? I mean, when we have an accident and stuff, we don't try to collect it from. I'm looking for revenues here.
If there's extensive property damage resulting from an accident of some kind, there's a process for subrogation.
Define extensive. Over $1,000?
Or whatever the case may be. Noticeable outcome is there's a process with the Risk Management Division of the Department of Public Works working with the respective department to submit it. And we go from there. In some cases, if there was an incident or an event that did not result in an accident, that process would not ensue.
Okay, did we try to collect it from that fireman that had the accident on West Atlantic back in 2023?
There were no reports facilitated to that effect,
Well, we know
so
there was
therefore
we
no.
saw the pictures, so we know there was damage. So we know someone came in and repaired it because there's new trees there. So was a bill rendered for the payment of that by the person who destroyed public property?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you for that. And I don't think I have anything else.
Mayor, if I may, I would like to respond to Mr. Long's comment briefly. This financial disaster that we find ourselves in has been a long time coming. When I first sat up here my first year, I said, our expenses are outpacing our revenues. Yes, it is. And if you go back and look at all of your
You didn't have it before you came back.
Yes, you did.
No,
you
we didn't.
voted for a $22 million contract with no idea how it was going to get paid. And your own staff said it was the worst thing that could have happened to the
No
city.
one said that.
Yes, they did. They just don't say it to you. And it's unfortunate. We
say it
couldn't.
to you, right?
I'll tell you what, if I'm not
they
going
do.
to litigate it up here, I'm
But
not going to
wait,
let anybody
no,
else litigate it
if
up
you
here.
just look at the revenue that comes in annually and compare it to our expenses, we have been reducing down our reserves every single year.
Then why did you vote for a rollback?
I
Which
did.
has
I
exacerbated
didn't vote
that
for
issue.
the last contract. You did.
You voted for the
Excuse
rollback.
Me.
Knowing what was already in the contract, you
We
voted for a
voted
rollback.
for the rollback prior to the budget. When I saw how the budget was working and the fact
That's
that we
not
were
true.
eating up the reserves, I voted no on the budget. I was the only no vote. You voted for it.
No,
So
I voted against the rollback rate
you
that has
voted
made this
for
issue
the
worse,
budget,
which
which
you
came
should
later.
have if you had that concern.
Okay, people.
I'm just saying
I'm just
we
saying,
had
and I do have one further.
consistently
I'm
our
glad the children are
reserves are
gone.
going down
taking-
and our
I'm
expenses
taking-
are
I'm
going
taking it
up.
back.
It's not new. It didn't just
I
happen.
had one more note here, which I forgot to say because I moved stuff up because I was adding stuff as we went along. I will say that as for the officers, the pay for the officers, the contract had been accepted, but for the fact that they're trying to extend this rollback, what's the word I'm looking for? The drop. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
For this 3 years. I mean, nobody's talking about taking away the 5. We can argue whether it's a good deal or a bad deal, or whether other cities are doing it, whether Boca's doing it, who has a lot more money than we do, and these other places who have a lot more money than we do and aren't facing our challenges, and we have to face what economic stuff we have. All I'm saying is the offer that we have offered for the new officers coming in, starting at 72,000 and 70 and change, making them up to 80 by year 3 is competitive. It's in the middle of the road. It's not the highest because we can't compete with the highest.
Mayor, where did that money come from for the first year? We pulled it out of the second and third steps.
Well, yes, because the argument, as you recall,
So
we were
that's
all
a shell game.
We were all. It's not a shell game. We were all at the
Yes.
same meeting, and they're saying we need more money for the newer officers, and we said, but we only have $15.2 million, and so if you want more money, it's got to come from somewhere. So it got reallocated.
It got
because the
reallocated. We didn't give them more money. We reallocated it.
But the concern was the newer officers. The concern was attracting officers. The concern was not whether or not someone with 10 years in, 12 years in, vested in the pension was going to get more money. We were talking about getting new officers. We were talking about recruitment. By the way, we do have recruitment. We have officers we have people that have applied. So to merely say people left for whatever reason, people left for a lot. I know one of the people that moved to Stewart. Okay, they're technically.
And Mayor, I believe HR said that when we put out an application, we get about 60 to 70.
Okay, we can get.
Can I just say one more thing?
I don't
though,
want to listen to
about this?
gaslighting about why people are leaving.
I'm gonna
wait,
I'm
I
not
would
going
like
to
to
listen
say
to it.
one
I'm
thing
not
that
going to allow you
I
guys
think
to
is
sit up
important.
here and say it's a natural amount of attrition.
Mayor.
I'm not
That's
saying anything.
BS.
I'm not saying anything.
Pardon me for one moment. I'd like to say something for the public's benefit. Cities are changing their positions on the drop. If you go
Who?
online and
Which
read,
ones? None of the
I'll
ones that we
bring a
gave an
list.
analysis of.
Not the ones locally.
Oh,
but
none
you
of
know
the
what?
local
We
ones.
can be a
Okay,
leader.
in another place.
I'm speaking. One moment, please. What people should understand about the drop, because I don't think a lot of people know, it's retirement plus 5 years.
Why are we
That's
debating what a
you're
drop
getting.
is when everyone else has one and we have to be competitive?
Now
Whether
they're
you guys
looking
like
to
a
be
drop or not is
retirement
irrelevant.
plus
It's
8
not relevant.
years.
Well,
It's
it
a
is-
lot
it
for
is-
the
it is
taxpayers to pay for. If you're 25
Every
and you get a
community
job,
around us has a drop.
And nobody's talking about taking away the 5 years.
no, but if you're
No,
25,
some of the letters I got back, by the way, and
Boca,
a lot
everyone
of
is
letters.
going to a longer drop. And it costs us nothing to do
everyone.
it. It costs us nothing.
Not
Our
everyone.
actuary
Accurate.
told us that. The
Actually-
analysis we
well,
asked
the actuary
for.
that you all hired, yes.
No,
No,
wait.
we hired. The city hired.
Mayor, the actuary was we did this last time looking at a very specific piece of information which related to if they changed the COLA. And what we 100% know, and it's
The
no
gymnastics
respect-
that you guys are doing
We're
to
not
try
doing
and make this
gymnastics.
I'll tell you
point.
what,
Every piece of data we have gotten says this will not
You
cost
put
us
it
more
in your
money.
newsletter. You put it in your newsletter.
Yeah.
I'm going to let everybody go. The Aveling is closed. We're adjourned.